I'm live. Hey, you guys. Just getting started. Nothing is gonna go right today. That's because I'm using the wrong password. Okay. How are you guys doing today? Thank you for joining me. Come on in. I'm trying to get the YouTube and everything set up. You know how it is. You know how it is, but I've been having a lot of issues with YouTube, so I don't know. But let's get going.
It's a brand new day and she's back again. Get yourself a beverage, let's get settled in. It's Decon Q&A with CrystalJae.
Thank you.
Hey, 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 all our favorite heathens gathered in one place. All our questions answered, our favorite creators on display. It's Decon Q&A with CrystalJae. Hey, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get ready for the fun. Decon Q&A with CrystalJae.
Hey, you guys, thank you for joining me. Come on in. I'm going to try to get YouTube set up. I asked if they could put it on the Deconstruction Junction today, but Benny is out of town, and I don't know if Tahir and Cam can do it yet. Ian is on the way. He is running just a few minutes late, so that gives me a chance to do this. So let's see if I can get this up and going while Ian is running late too. Okay, let's see if I can get it going. We're gonna, oh, I remember what happened last time. It would not let me log into my account on TikTok. So I don't know if it's gonna let me or not. No idea. That's what happened last time. This time it looks like it's letting me. And I have to log into a TikTok account to stream this over on YouTube from my computer. And yeah, it didn't let me last time. So it looks like it's working this time. I hopefully the sound will work. I've been having a lot of issues with the sound. So I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Let's see if they complain today. You guys, if you could do me the big favor of getting me to 5,000 likes as quickly as possible. And I have a gift goal of 666 of the roses. They are only 1 coin each, but make sure you go up here and do a heart me, and then go back up here and collect your team points, because those really help boost us out in the algorithm. Also, yeah, I need 100 shares as quickly as possible. So if you could start sharing out the live to your friends, your co-workers, your enemies, your frenemies, your pet groomers. Let Joel know I'm live. He loves getting notifications about me being live when he's live. He loves that. Hi, Eli. Hey, Scalamoosh. How are you today? Hannah, how you doing today? How you guys doing? Good to see everybody. All right. I think that I might have fixed my YouTube. If anybody can tell me if the sound sounds shitty, that would be great. Aw, that is so sweet. Aw. Hi, Tahir. I think I got the YouTube working on my YouTube channel. I don't know if the sound is good though, because they've been saying the sound is really bad over there lately. And I'm not doing anything different, so I don't know why. So, but yeah, so we just need to talk and hang out for about 15 minutes. Miko, Joel blocked you from sharing live stream. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Sometimes I said Joel, I share his own live to him when he's live. Because he'll say, okay, everybody's sharing the live, so I send it to him. Just, just trying to do my due diligence, just trying to be helpful, because that's the kind of gal I am. Yeah, you do kind of have to send them one at a time for them to count. It's kind of a pain. But I have found that if you hold down your finger on the screen, a list of people's names will come up, and you can send them to all of them, like send them really fast, but they count as individuals. You did. You said Bezos, back up to Bezos main. That's awesome. All right, has anybody checked out the YouTube? Is the sound crappy over there? What is the YouTube sound like? Anybody checked out the YouTube? Is the sound crappy over there? What is the YouTube sound like?
Hey, I was just...
wait, I can't even hear. Hang on. I don't have my Bluetooth on. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah. Hang on, Tyre. Okay, now speak to me.
Okay. I was just letting you know, I did check the YouTube stream. It sounds good. I'm going to watch from there to keep an eye on it. So I'm going to load you up.
Okay, it is good?
Yes, it sounds good. But because I know sometimes it goes like in and out. So I'll watch from there to keep an eye on it. I'm going to load you up with some gifts, some likes, some shares.
Yeah. Thank you. I love you. Thank you.
Same. Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, you guys. That's good to hear, because every episode for the past month or whatever, people have been saying that the sound was horrible over there. And then I listened to playback and it was. But I don't know what to do about it because I wasn't doing anything. Do you guys want to see what a kid I am? I love lip glosses and I love chapsticks, and I got this little lip smacker. Look at how cute it is. And then you turn it and it's like big. Not that I have big lips, but it's just big and I like it. And also it has a yummy taste. I got that at CVS. It was one of those impulse purchases that they want you to have. They're like, here, will you please buy this? We're going to put it right by the register. And I'm a sucker for that kind of marketing. And I know I am, and I'm okay with that. Hey, Joyful, what's up? Hannah, good to see you. Who all is in here? Let me say hi to people. Gilgamore, how you doing? KJ, Cage Laura, how are you? Jason, what's up? Jeffro, what's going down? J.A. Cobb, how you doing? Thank you for the heart me. You guys, don't forget the heart me's. Don't forget to send me roses. Y'all, don't forget to like the live and share it out. I'm doing great. Thank you. I don't know. I don't believe in a God that can forgive anybody, and I don't believe anybody needs forgiveness. But yeah, I'd be pretty mad about the dinosaurs too. You know what I'm saying? Do you think we could coexist with dinosaurs, though? will not be tricked by the crying kids today. Okay, that's good. I know, but like, to be fair, when you have empathy and you hear somebody cry, it does kind of tug at your heartstrings a little, right? You guys, I did trans colors for all my trans friends out there today. Oh my God. Happy Pride Month. Happy Juneteenth. Happy Juneteenth, you guys. Thank you. I know, this is Notoriously Morbid, a little indie cosmetic company. Thank you. Yeah, I love Notoriously Morbid. It is, I hope she's still around. I haven't purchased from her for a while, but I hope she's still around. Thank you. Can you guys hear my fan? Let me turn it up first, and then you guys tell me if you can hear it. Okay, can you guys hear that? Is it interrupting my microphone? Does it make too much noise? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. I guess, you know what? I'm going to get a drink real quick while we're still waiting. I'll be right back. Oh, there is a fan that's on that I don't want on. Why is that? That's not the fan. Okay, now, does this sound too loud? Because that fan wasn't supposed to be on. Okay, good. I have a little tiny fan that I like to sit next to me, but I wasn't sure if it made too much noise or not. And it seems like it doesn't. And that's good. That's good to know. Hey, No Degree, how are you today? I see you down there. What's up? Miko, today is allegedly Ian, and he'll be here shortly. He sent me a DM and told me he's running just a little bit late, okay? I think it's due to traffic, but yeah. We have allegedly Ian. You have a makeup kink? Illegibly Ian, yeah. That tracks. I wonder what are some of the names. Do you guys think that Christians call some of our creator friends and stuff to mock them? Like, I wonder. Folded like a lawn chair. I will take your concession. Folded like a lawn chair. He says other ones too, huh? I don't remember all the, the Ianisms. Let's ask his pastor, shall we? What are some of the things that you call well, Deconstruction Johnson is one of them, I guess. Okay, you guys, I need 11 roses from 11 different human beings. So only give me one each, but I need 11 of you to do it. Help me reach that quick little flash goal, okay? I mean, you can give me more roses than that because my main goal is roses as well. But I just like to hit the impunctual Ian. Poor Ian. Thank you, guys. Hey, Earth, what's up? That is so cute. I love that little star guy. He's adorable. Yes, everybody send your heart me and popular votes and share out the live and keep tapping the screen. I promise you won't regret it. He'll be here any minute. I do believe that Ian, and I will ask, uses they, them pronouns, but I have heard, and we'll find out because I will be asking them, that they do not mind he, him as well. So we'll find out in just a little bit. Allegedly Ian is on his way. Allegedly Ian is on his way. I mean, it's alleged though. You are he, they as well, Joyful. That's good because I think that I have always called you he, and I don't think I ever asked you, and that's actually not very nice of me. And now I feel kind of bad about that. Am I going to debate Ian? No, I don't debate my guests. Oh, that is so cool. Thank you. That is really cool. I don't debate my guests. We ask them questions, and you can come up and ask them questions as well. I need 5 more roses. If you haven't sent up a rose yet, if you could send up one right now, I need 5 more to reach that flash goal within the next 12 minutes. And there is the guest of the hour, you guys.
Hello.
Hi, Ian.
Can you hear me?
I can. How are you?
Oop, doing good, doing good. How's the mic quality? Does it sound okay?
It's beautiful. It sounds wonderful, actually.
Okay.
So I am Crystal. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Let me get this sent out to my Discord.
Okay, sounds good. You guys, I just need 2 more roses. If you haven't sent a rose yet and you can send one, I need 2 more to reach the flash goal. So if you can, that would be amazing. And don't forget to gift my esteemed guest. I'd really appreciate it. Hey, Kate, how are you? I haven't seen you in a minute. Hey, Denise. Good to see you guys. Thanks for joining. I appreciate you guys so much.
Okay.
Ian, what would you like me to call you, and what are your preferred pronouns?
That's a great question. You can call me Ian, and I have any pronouns. So whatever feels right, whatever's comfortable for you.
Okay, thank you. Well, I know you haven't seen my show before, so I'll tell you a little bit about how it goes. I will ask you some icebreaker questions to begin with, and then we'll invite people to come up and ask you questions. A lot of times they're shy to come up, so they might just ask in chat, in which case I'll just read them out to you from either TikTok or YouTube. I'm on YouTube, but I haven't set up any way for people to call in, so to speak, from over there really yet. So I usually just read the questions out, and I don't have super chats yet. So, and then at the end, we like to play a fun little game called Divine or Decline, okay? And it's a game where I just read something, and if it's from the Bible, you'll say divine, and if it's from the Quran or the Book of Mormon, or I made it up, it's decline. And people will usually join you to come play that game, okay?
Sounds good. Yeah.
All right. So let me get my questions real quick here. Oops, sorry. Did not mean to play that. I always forget how to switch my brain from Android to Apple. Like, I can't do it like that. The minute I pick up an Apple device, I go, oh, wait, this is different.
That's okay. Yeah.
It's just, okay, here we go. All right, so here we go, you guys. We're going to start with the icebreaker questions. If you have questions for Ian and you would like to come up and ask him a question, you can go ahead and get in the guest box, but I'll be asking him my questions first, and then we'll bring you up, okay? Okay, if you could see one band or person in concert who is no longer with us, who would it be?
That's a fantastic question. I have no idea.
Hey, Kaden, I just talked to Ian about it, and he did say that I could use any pronouns.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Thank you so much, though. I appreciate you protecting people. I like that.
Wow, that's like the toughest question I think I've ever been asked. I have genuinely no idea. I don't think I listen to the music of anyone regularly who's no longer with us. I don't think I have an answer to that.
I think if I could see one person in concert just to be like, I got to see them, and, you know, I would pick Prince just because he was Prince. And I would love to see him play like Purple Rain live.
Yeah.
And I didn't get a chance to do that while he was live. So that would be a pretty cool one to me.
Yeah, no, definitely. Maybe I do Mozart or one of those, one of the people in those vein.
That would be really cool too, really. The movie Amadeus was like one of my favorite movies of all time. So now that you say that, yeah, that would have been a really cool era to see somebody play live. Okay, let's see. What is the wisest advice anybody has ever given you, no matter how small it was?
Probably the best piece of advice that I've ever gotten, at least it's actually like a piece of relationship advice, and it's held up to be like the truest thing anyone's ever said. And it's that the problems that you have at the beginning of the relationship are going to be the problems that you'll have throughout the entire relationship. And that's just been historically very true, at least for all the relationships that I've ever been in.
That's true. That is really good. I really like that. It wasn't really advice, as more as it was just something somebody said to me that always stuck with me. I worked in retail, and that is just a hellhole of a whole different thing. But when I was working in retail, it always felt like you had 4 million things to do and not enough time to do it, because that's actually how retail works. They don't give you the hours you need, but constantly supply you with things that they're demanding you do. And I was feeling very overwhelmed this one day, and I just walked up to my boss and said, I really don't know what you want me to do next, because every single thing on this list you guys are saying is a priority. So I don't know what to do. And he said, you know what, Crystal, you can only do what you can do. And I was like, I know that sounds so simple, but I was like, yeah, you're right. I can't only. And he goes, so I don't want you to sit here and worry all day about what you didn't do, because you couldn't do it, because you're only one person. So just go do what you can do, you know? And I was like, all right. Yeah. And so I started thinking about that in just the simplest places in my life, that I really need to realize that I can only do what I can do, and worrying about the things I can't isn't helping me in any way whatsoever. So
Yeah, definitely. No, I feel that.
okay, here's a really deep one. If you found out that there had always been one animal on this earth that had literally been smarter than us, but they were just plain stupid for whatever reason, what animal do you think that would be?
That's a good question. Maybe dolphins. I feel like dolphins don't have a good, because I feel like one of the reasons why humans at least like do all the cool things like building houses, building cars, etc., is because we have the hands for tools. We have like bodies that are built for tools. You know, I think maybe we would be just at a similar level of intelligence to dolphins. If you went back like 200,000 years ago, maybe it wouldn't be clear which of us is more intelligent. So maybe dolphins are just at a disadvantage. You know, they can't really start stacking their intelligence because they can't form societies, because they have this like aquatic physiology.
I like that. I did think of dolphins when I asked the question, but to be honest with you, my cat was sitting on my lap and he was telling me it was him. He said they are indeed smarter than all of us, and we just haven't come to terms with it yet. So, but no, I do think that I think that there are possibilities that other animals could have moved up that food chain if it weren't for our abilities to use tools and such. So, okay, what does your ultimate breakfast buffet look like?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm constantly torn. I'm torn between eating healthy and just like eating all of the foods that I just love eating. So, you know, I love eating junk food like donuts, or, you know, I like waffles. I think waffles are great. But I don't know. I think on a good day, the answer to this question is probably like a salad.
Yeah, that's probably true. If I'm going to have a breakfast buffet, though, I'm going to put all of that on there. That way, depending on what I'm like in the mood for at that moment, I can have it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to have the waffles, but I'll put a little salad on there too, you know?
Yeah.
In case I'm feeling a little healthy that morning. Yeah. But there's probably going to be some bacon on that buffet too, because I think I want to be a vegetarian, but I haven't made that decision yet. But it's coming. I can feel it.
Yeah.
Bacon's just going to be a hard one, but not that hard, because I do like the fake bacon too. So French toast would definitely be on there.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel that. I love French toast. I think it's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay, you can go back in time, but only as a tourist. Like you're literally going to be a tourist in any time, in any place in history. Where do you want to go be a tourist?
Oh, yeah, definitely Athens at the advent of philosophy in like the 400, 300 BC era. I could go and meet Socrates. You know, he was really easy to meet. He was just walking around Athens talking to people. So he would have been very
That's
easy
cool.
to go and find.
That's really cool. I would like to go to Egypt, like in the at the turn of the century when a lot of tourists were going over there when they were doing their archaeological digs and stuff around the early 1900s. I think that it was not that it's a good thing, but I think things were a lot more accessible to tourists to see. And so therefore I would get up closer than you can nowadays to all of that. So I think that would be very interesting. Let's see. You get to learn the truth about one thing that is still unknown to all of us today, but it cannot be science related. It has to be a controversy, a piece of gossip, a piece of history that is still unknown. What one thing do you want knowledge of?
Damn. I probably, gosh. This isn't going to be a very wholesome answer, but I would love to know. I just want to know the worst possible piece of information about Q-Top, so then I can ruin his life.
Oh my God, that's awesome. Yes. Okay, I really like that actually. That was really good. I was thinking a totally different line there, but if I wanted to know one piece of controversy or history or something like that, I want to know a whodunit, but I don't know who's whodunit. I think that what I would like to know is that they think that somebody may have unalived King Tut, right? I'd like to know who and why. Who did that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, with kings in succession, I
Yeah.
feel like assassinations were pretty common.
Absolutely, absolutely. What is something that makes you irrationally angry?
When I misplace something, I basically have like a full-on meltdown when it's been like 45 minutes and I just can't find something. Like maybe it's like my car keys and I needed to leave like 45 minutes ago. I'll be probably like, I don't know, I'll just be like angry beyond words.
I can feel that for sure. I've lost a few things in my day. And yeah, I think I've had little meltdowns, just little, but one of the things that makes me really irrationally angry sitting behind this screen is chat. You guys have to let me know if you agree with me on this one. Is when a sweet talking girl comes up on one of your guys' lives and starts talking really, really nice, and then like I know as soon as I hear that particular voice and the way they'll be like, I didn't come up here to argue or anything. Immediately they're going to crash out and it's going to be so annoying to me and it's so fake. And immediately I feel anger. And usually in the discords where we're all talking about you guys when you're live, talk about the debates and stuff, I'll immediately say, okay, like this chick annoys me already. And everybody's like, Crystal, you're so judgmental. No, they agree with me in chat. They know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
guys have seen them come up. I don't want to argue. I just came up to have a conversation, okay?
Yeah, you can just call it what, I don't know. Whenever people say that, I always just think to myself, well, we can just call it, you can call it whatever you want. A debate is a debate. Like, a debate doesn't mean that you're like yelling at each other or whatever. It just
No.
means that you're like going back and forth and like I don't know, trying to arrive at some sort of point. A debate, it's, we can call it whatever you want. You can call it like a conversation, you can call it an argument, you can call it a debate. It's all the same thing.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, Ian, we get to watch Celebrity Deathmatch 2025. Who is going against each other and who's going to win?
That's a great question. Is it just two people?
Yeah, it's just two celebrities.
Damn.
A-list, B-list, C-list, doesn't
I
matter.
think I gotta go with RFK Jr. And gosh, what would a good one be? We'll do RFK Jr. against, and then I'll just have like some animal actor that's like a bear. I want to see RFK Jr. against a grizzly bear, but the bear can be like an actor or whatever. Whichever bear was in like that one bear movie whose name I can't say on TikTok Live. That bear actor against RFK Jr. is the match I want to see.
That would be great. I think that it would be fun to see Kamala Harris kick Elon Musk's ass. So I think I would go for that one.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I think that would be kind of fun. Especially like, I just picture her up there in like a really nice pantsuit and still just kicking his ass, and his shirt coming up to here. Well, and I just think it'd be fun.
Yeah, that does sound fun.
Okay, would you rather have to live in a house with no internet or no indoor plumbing?
It's a great question, but there'd be outdoor plumbing.
I guess it would be an outhouse. You get an outhouse and you get a little water to rinse your hands off.
Damn, that's a tough one. Although I just don't think that I could live without the internet. So
I know.
Or maybe because if I didn't have the internet, then I could be just like some monk in a cabin in the woods, and I could do nothing but read all day.
True. That is true. It reminds me of that scene in Family Guy where with the one brain cell left, because he finally had time to read, and then his glasses gets broken. Anyway, it just reminded me of that scene for some reason. I think that I would live without plumbing because, I've had times where my water's been shut off, and it's survivable. But when the internet gets shut off, it just sucks. It just sucks. There's too many things. I can't stream. I can't play a video game. I can't watch you guys. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, you can obviously you need water, but you can go buy bottled water to drink. You can go to a gym and take a shower. And like I said, there's an outside, outhouse for me or something. I could survive. But I don't know if I could do it without the internet. Okay, you guys, this is the last question. If you have questions, put your requests in the guest box and I'll bring you on up. Also, if you have questions over on YouTube, you can just ask them in the chat and I will go ahead and read them out. But here is the last icebreaker question. What's something totally random that always makes you laugh, no matter how many times you hear it or see it?
Ooh, that's a great question. I gotta rack my memory for that. Oh, yeah. The Danny Jordan Peterson clip, I think I've watched it probably like 25 times. That was...
Me too.
Yeah, it gets funnier every single time I watch it. Jordan just looks like he has no idea where he is. It's fantastic.
I just really I'm done with him.
No,
I said that to Joel the other night because Joel he got tired of the guest, so he kind of just kicked him off, and it made me think about. I was like, Joel's like, I'm done with him.
No, absolutely.
You don't. Yeah, I love the questions Danny was asking. You don't know where you're at right now. That was great.
It's the pause great. The pause that Jordan Peterson has right after that. It's the best part where Danny's like, I was under the impression that we were here to do this, and then Jordan's like, no, we were, and then you can't tell Danny what they were there to do. He's like completely frozen. It's great.
Hi, Shelly. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are y'all doing?
Doing good. Did you have a question for Ian?
Yeah, I did have a question. Hey, Ian.
Hey.
First of all, I just want to say I really do enjoy all your streams. Philosophy is probably my least favorite subject, but you actually make it pretty bearable.
Let's go.
And I really do seem to learn something literally every time you stream. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. And I was curious what got you streaming in the first place. How you got on TikTok, or what was your kind of thought process behind that?
That's a great question. So, around like 2020, I got really into watching debate content. I can't list any of the people who I watched because they're all canceled now. But I consumed lots and lots of debate content. And I wanted to get good at it. It's something that I wanted to aspire to be, was a debater. So I ended up joining my college's debate team, and I got swept up with academic debate, which was probably just the time of my life. It was incredible. Wow. That's probably the most fun I've ever had. The last semester of debate with my debate partner Maya, that was probably just like the time of my life. But regardless, after that, I graduated from college, and I still wanted to do debate stuff. So I saw that people would debate on TikTok, and then I started debating on TikTok as well.
Awesome. Well, I'm really glad. I know you had mentioned before that you did debates in college. And so I'm really glad you got started on TikTok. They have just been so informative. And so I just really wanted to say thank you again.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Crystal.
I'm sorry.
Felix, if you could stay muted, it's not your turn next. I go right up in the order everybody comes up. Okay, stay muted for a minute.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you, Shelly, for coming up. I appreciate you. Did you need me to drop you down?
No, ma'am. I will see myself out. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks for being here. Hey, Jacko, how are you today? Can I get your age for TikTok purposes?
Oh.
Jacko?
Oh, yeah.
Dragon guy?
I'm 20. Sorry.
Oh, okay. How you doing? Did you have
I'm
a question
doing good.
for me?
How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
Yeah, I love you, Crystal. I love Ian, too. You guys are amazing.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah. Like, Ian, man, you I learn something new every day, just like the last guy said. Like, man, I learned more. Like, school taught me a few things, but after, I'm done with school now, and I learn everything from, TikTok and just being online and reading books. So I'm just learning more than I've ever learned before. It's amazing.
Yeah, weirdly, me too.
But I have a real question, because I was in an argument with my very Christian uncle, and he wants me to be Christian as well, but I'm just not really into it. And I was basically like, uncle, why? You know what I mean? I know that Christianity, it supports slavery. You talk about it all the time. And I told him about that, and he's like, no. Black people, we were some of the first Christians that started in Africa. And I know that just isn't true. That isn't true, right? Oh my God. It's
I think, I mean, in a sense it's true, but I think more importantly, it's not relevant. The fact that Christianity started in the Middle East. So the first and most notable thing is that Christianity started in the Middle East, and then it spread outward. It spread to Europe. It spread to Africa.
Okay.
So that's fine, right? Like black people could have been some of the first Christians. You know, God still said that slavery is fine though, which to me I think is, you know, it's just
Yeah.
like a deal breaker for me at least.
Right.
Because if God's all good, you would just expect every single thing he does to be like the paragon of virtue. Like you would expect every single action to be like, I don't know, like Gandhi on steroids. Like you would expect just like a fantastic amount of good from every single word that he says. But instead, he's just doing like, I don't know,
Right.
insane evils.
And I even told, like, he thinks that everything is perfect, like, we're perfect. And I brung up, like, a simple, like, why did this pimple appear on my face? Like, why did, like, it was simple, like, it's kind of dumb, but I asked that, I was like, why do I get pimples? Like, why do people get pimples? Like, why do different diseases and stuff exist? And, like, he blamed sin, but, like, I really don't get, like, I feel like that's kind of like, what do you call it, like a cop out? It's like kind of just easy to be like, yeah, it's just humanity's sin, that's why disease exists. And like, I'm trying to think of an argument against that for him, because
Well,
we
don't
talk
other animals get pimples?
right, yeah, right, wait, right.
Yeah. I think that that's probably a good argument. Well, that certainly can't come from sin if other
Right.
animals are getting it.
Right.
The way I like to approach a lot of this stuff is that there's like the Christian explanation and then there's like the biology explanation. And the Christian explanation is usually not capable of accounting for the underlying biological reality, which is why you'll see phenomena like cancer, phenomena like pimples appear in every animal, or at least lots of them.
Literally, yeah. Like, yeah, I feel like my uncle's explanation, it kind of, I feel like there's, like, you can dig deeper, like there's more to dig into. Like me, I was diagnosed with epilepsy like probably like 2 years ago now. And my uncle, he told me, like, you should try praying, you should try talking to God. And I kind of feel like it kind of irritates me sometimes, because it's like that's not really what's helping me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when I get diagnosed, when I have a seizure, I don't want to, like, after I get back up, after I'm, like, recovering, I don't want to, like, pray to God and be like, please, I hope that never happens again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I listen to my neurologist. I take my medications. You know what I mean? I do what I got to do. I don't, like, I guess I can't really cope with God like he wants me to. Like,
Yeah.
like, I don't know.
Nor should you have to, of course.
Right, right. Like, you know, I guess I, like, cope in my own way. I talk to my brother and my sister, you know what I mean? Like, even watching these lives is a way for me to cope, honestly. Like,
I have a question for Jacqueline.
Felix, we
No,
don't
no,
do
no,
that.
I
I'm
can-
going to go ahead and drop. No. That's not how we run this. And he's interrupted twice now. So that's
Yeah,
not how we
yeah.
run this. This is a Decon Q&A for Ian. And if you didn't come up to ask Ian a question and you have to interrupt, you don't need to be up here.
but yeah, man, it is like, it is like a little frustrating when, like, some religious people try to, like, force their, like, way of, like, especially when it doesn't work for you. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and, like, yeah.
No,
But-
absolutely. I don't know. It's always really weird and like very like distasteful.
hmm But yeah, I guess that's all I really wanted to say. I always look forward to seeing you live, Ian. I'm always like, bro, I'm at work, it's Ian live, and I'm like, yes, he's live, you know. Like, anyway, I follow a lot of creators like Deconstructing, and I'm just like, I learn something new every time, so I stay following people, and I love everything you guys do. It's like, it's educational. Like, that's people come on and they're like, why are you always doing this? Why do you hate God? Why do you hate God? Why do you, if you don't believe in God, why do you do these lives? And it's just like, you can always grow, you know what I mean? It always makes me laugh when they come up like, nah, like, but yeah.
Yeah,
for
definitely.
Mhm. But yeah, I guess that's all I wanted to say. I love you guys. You guys have a blessed day, a good day.
Thank you.
What I'm saying. But yeah, I love you guys.
Yeah.
Well, thank
hey,
you
thanks
for
so
coming
much. I
on.
appreciate that.
No problem.
We appreciate you.
No
Hey,
problem.
Jesse, how are you today? Can I get your age for TikTok purposes?
Hiya, I'm 22.
Okay, did you have a question for Ian?
I did. Oh my goodness. Okay. So do you have a like easy to read starter philosophy book that you can recommend?
Yeah, one that's really good is Michael Humer's, I think it's Knowledge, Value, and Reality. It's like three terms, but it's like intentionally written. So Michael Humer, is kind of renowned for like a very simple style, and he also has like a very like common sense approach to philosophy. That's kind of what he does, where he thinks that like we should probably be starting with like our common sense intuitions, and that it's a problem if philosophy leads us to things that stray from our common sense intuition. For example, he thinks that like moral anti-realism is silly in the same way. Like one comparison that he gives is that like people in philosophy will say like morals aren't real, which he thinks is like if like geologists, one of the main positions in geology was to think that like rocks weren't real. So I don't know. He just has like a very common sense like approach to it, where it's like if his intuitions make him think that something is some way, then he tends to take that and he like builds his like entire philosophy around that. But he has like an introductory book to philosophy titled I think it's let me look it up. Knowledge. Is it Knowledge, Value? Knowledge, Reality, and Value by Michael Humer.
Okay, thank you so much. I love your live so much. And please get PayPal, please.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. But if you want, I mean, my YouTube, you send super chats. That's
I
a way.
do, but I don't want to give YouTube the money, you know?
That's fair enough, I think. Technically I do have a PayPal, but I think it has like personal information on it. So
Fair enough. Valid. Okay, thank you so much.
yep.
Jesse,
Have a good
thank you
day.
for coming up. We appreciate you.
Thank
Hey, you
you,
guys,
bye.
real quick commercial break. If you guys wouldn't mind tapping that screen and getting us to 50,000 likes as quickly as possible. Also, I have a gift goal. They're just roses. Send up those roses. I bring you amazing lives. Show me some love today. Look at who I brought for you today. Ian, I brought you Justin. I brought you Thinker, Joel, Mezzo, Joyful, and everybody in between. So make sure you're following if you haven't followed me already. And if you're on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel. Balin, Jesse, did you need me to drop you down?
Yes, please. Tap the screen.
All right.
Wow. Bye.
Yes, thank you. Bye, Jesse. Balin, can I get your age for TikTok purposes?
Yeah, I'm 35.
Okay, and did you have a question for Ian?
I do, yes. Ian, how's it going, man?
Doing well. How about you?
Good. So, I don't know if you recognize me. I'm the...
Yeah, I recognize you.
So, honestly, your live really inspired me to just kind of try and copy you. And the last 2 weeks, I've been going live every day and just kind of trying to just do the same thing you do, except for I don't body people the way that you do. I'm not as...
It takes practice.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I love watching you, man. I do have a question because I am writing a book, and it is on this whole thing, right? And what I do is kind of like, I almost say like, hey, we can almost skip all the big words, all the philosophy, all the logic, because I don't think, no Christian is ever going to come up against you and get anywhere. I mean, I was on a live last night with that guy Words, who's like, thinks he's super smart, and maybe he is. But like, my question
Wait, which one?
His name is Words. He has like 1 million followers, and he's like a Christian philosophy guy that kind of
I
weird.
have no idea who that is.
He said he's debated you like a few times. Anyways, so I do have a question in all this. Sorry. My question is like, once we get past all of the, however we want to debate, we always get to this end of this Christian argument, which is either just faith or personal experience. Like it always ends in that for me. And so I notice, we don't ever really quite get there on your lives because it's just like they either give up or they just look stupid after talking to you. But like, do you recognize that there is like always at the end of it, like basically this just like blind faith, or like I heard this voice of God, or this, kind
Yeah.
of yes, personal experience, and like, do you ever touch on that? That like, hey, like there's something wrong there. Like you guys aren't right in the head. And I'm just saying that, like, obviously I'm not saying like these people need to go to psych hospitals, but like, I don't know if you understand my question. Sorry.
Maybe. Although there are ways to like push back against both of those things. I don't know. Like, I think you kind of got to play it by ear, but and typically when those things are brought up, it is meant to terminate the conversation, or at least like bring it to like a halt or something of that sort. But there are ways to actually push past those. So for personal experience, I think a fantastic jumping off point is problems of divine hiddenness. Asking them, well, why doesn't God give everyone a personal experience? If it took a personal experience for you, why wouldn't God give everyone one of these personal experiences? Why wouldn't he give one to me? That's a way that you can push past that and like redirect that back to, I don't know, like an even further, it's like you can just like continue like whatever beatdown is going on by taking it to the problems of divine hiddenness. And then for faith, I think it's worth pointing out that like faith is just circular. You can't have faith in something unless you like already believe in it. You just can't do that, right? Like you need to first believe in the thing in order to have faith in it. There's no other way to arrive in a position where you have a belief with no evidence in it. Like you don't just go around picking up random beliefs with no evidence in them. You need to have like, I think there's like ways to push past both of those. But also I do think that both of those are like sufficient for just terminating the debate. Like at that point you win. So
yeah, for sure. And that's kind of what I was saying is like, and that's exactly what I was saying is like, it always ends there, right? And it's like, I can't argue personal experience because, I can't discount your personal experience just as much as you can't discount mine. And if you had this personal experience where you heard God, well, I had this personal experience where I heard Harry Potter, and they're just different.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to, I guess maybe I haven't actually, or maybe I've just missed it where you kind of push back on that. I have heard the first thing you said, but no, man, I really like watching you, and I know that when you're doing your debates, you're only looking for opposition, so it's just nice to like get on here and ask you questions. But
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can also ask me in Discord.
I need to join your Discord. Excuse me.
Yeah, everyone should. It's in my link tree.
Yeah, everybody should. That's how I always, you get an immediate announcement when he goes live and you're in the Discord.
Yeah, no, I will. I'll go do that right now. But thanks, man. You really, truly have like really helped and inspired me to like. I mean, I know you can look at it as copying, but hey, that's like a form of flattery. So I appreciate everything you do.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah, take care, everyone.
Thanks for coming up, Baylan. We appreciate you. Hi, Tora. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good.
Doing well.
Okay, so I have a few questions, if that's okay. I have not seen. I'm not really familiar with you, Ian, but like I came in a little bit ago, and you seem pretty reasonable. And there's a whole bunch of people fangirling over you in the comments. So I have a few questions.
I'm fangirling right here, by the way. I'm just doing it quietly, okay? You can't tell, but I am fangirling.
So since I haven't really seen you live before, first question, I just want to know, like, where are you in your deconstruction journey?
Well, I've been like deconstructed since the age of 13. I used to be a Christian, but then what brought me out of it was genuinely just logical argumentation. People bringing up like logical contradictions. That's a thing that really sits with me. If there's a contradiction in the things that I believe, that really bothers me. So I need to resolve it as quickly as I could. And at the age of 13, the quickest way to resolve the contradictions that one of my friends was bringing to me was to decide, oh, well, I guess God isn't real. So I hope that answers the question.
No, that's fair. So I'm Jewish, and part of like my daily practice involves deconstruction, because I'm not sure if you're aware, but Jewish people like wrestle with the text all the time. Crystal is aware; she's seen me live with Rabbi Hannah. But I'm trying to like look for sources outside of Jewish people who are deconstructing. So, but I know that there are a few people who, I guess, because of religious trauma, sometimes they end up falling into like patterns of anti-Semitism without realizing it. So I was just wondering if you know of any resources that are not anti-Semitic or like Jewish friendly.
Probably not. Where are you in your where are you in your deconstructing journey?
I feel like any type of journey is never ending, so I still feel like I have work to do. I wrestle with God on the daily basis. Like, if he has an issue with me calling him an a-hole, he could just pull up.
Yeah. Truly, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's reasonable. But no, I'm much more focused on the philosophical debate side of things than I am on like the like, here's how to deconstruct, here's how to be okay with like moving away from whatever, from doing all of the things.
Yeah, so you're more so helping like people newer to their journey.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That's fair. Okay, that's really all I had for questions. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Yep, you have a good night.
Thank you, Tora. It's always a pleasure to have you up here.
Thank you.
I really
Bye,
appreciate
everyone.
you. Bye. You guys, the guest box is open. Thank you so much for these hats and mustaches. It's amazing. You don't forget, by the way, thank you for subscribing, Goddess. I appreciate you. If you haven't subscribed, think of doing so today. It's less than a cup of coffee a month. You're subscribed to Netflix, Hulu, Paramount Plus, and Cornhub, and Corn is free on the internet. So why don't you go ahead and cancel some of those subscriptions, save yourself some money, and then come subscribe to small creators like myself, where I bring you more bang for your buck. I bring you great creators and do the Decon Q&A with CrystalJae, the non-believers Bible study, and we do conversations with Christians. So subscribe to me today. It's worth it. And if you've already subscribed, consider gifting out some subscriptions to chat, because they love it. I cannot see your full name. Diver Life, can I get your age for TikTok purposes?
Yeah, it's 26.
Okay, go ahead and ask Ian your question.
So first, I'm going to start off with, Ian, I always love watching your lives, especially on Sundays with Blitz and Justin, because those are always extremely entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so my question was, just give like a quick little background, not to go into too much. So I just started deconstruction about almost 3 years ago now, as I was a Presbyterian for 20 years at least, I want to say, roughly around that. And how long in I know you've been saying that you've done your since essentially 13. So was it like a long process or tough process? Because
no, not really. Gosh, no. And I always feel like a bit out of place, because, I think that like the level of internalization that I had for the stuff, like it was a belief that it wasn't like completely central to my family life, although my parents were Christian. It wasn't like a belief that was like central to my worldview. So it was just kind of like a belief in my periphery. So when an opportunity came along, to actually reevaluate it logically, it was pretty easy for me to give it up. There were no like crises of like identity when I gave it up. So.
All right. That helped, yeah, because as someone that, for me, that lives with a Christian family and the only agnostic atheist or atheist, whatever, I get flack for both, but whatever one is considered the correct term for it.
Sure.
And with the AHF, it makes it really tough because I do get into a lot of debates with them, and a lot of times I use the problem we got arguments you display or some illogical contradictions, but they don't seem to understand, and it gets quite frustrating because they go like, "You only left because some guy on TikTok told you to." I'm like, "No, I left because how immoral I read it was because I started actually on Daniel Green's live because
Yeah.
I joined in just to have a discussion with him when I was a Christian. I'm like, I'm not here to convince. I'm not here to debate. I was actually just interested in the topic, and
Yeah.
he asked me why you were or he's like, "Do you find slavery immoral?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think it's disgusting." He's like, "Well, why do you worship a god if you think it's disgusting?" And my straight answer was, "I don't know. It's the way I was raised." I
Makes you
had no other
think.
argument because I'm like, I can't say it. I think that's kind of what cracked the case open because I'm like, it's what I was taught. This is the only thing I've known for 20 years. So this, when leaving after that long of a time, is quite brutal because then you kind of lose an identity that you had. But watching lives like yours, Justin, Matthew, Daniel's, and Blitz's live, and sometimes I can catch Crystal, but mainly she's on when I'm working, so it's kind of hard. But I love watching all you guys live because it does help me stay on the deconstruction path. And there's times where I want to go back, but that kind of helps me back to reality, where it's like, don't do it just for the coping mechanism. Like, actually seek it out first. Because since your lives,
Yeah.
I've been interested in philosophy, but it seems way too technical.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think that there's like lots of psychological benefits that it offers you, but I don't know, like it comes at a cost, you know. It does give you direction, you know. It tells you exactly what to do. It gives you community. It like, you know, the Bible and religion does all of those, but it comes at a cost, and the cost is that you believe false things and you believe horrible things. So it's a trade-off, and I think that it's one that fewer people in society should take.
All right, yeah, perfect. That's pretty much all I had. It was great talking to you, and we'll tune into your next live. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming up. I really appreciate it, Diver.
No problem. Thank you, Crystal. I really enjoyed it.
Have a good day.
Well, was that sophist Dr. Blitz in the comment section?
Dr. Blitz is in the comments section.
Whoa.
Hey, namesake, can I get your age for TikTok purposes?
Certainly, 43.
All right. Did you have a question for Ian?
Yeah, I had two questions, and I think I might have an escape route for your cow question. I'm not a vegan, but I think I might have an escape route, so
Yeah.
we might get to that.
Sure.
But so the two things were I got a recommendation from Ask Philosophy on Reddit. Somebody asked the question, what are the 25 most influential philosophy books written in the last 25 years? And somebody gave a recommendation for a book that I ended up getting called Epistemic Injustice, Power and the Ethics of Knowing by Miranda Fricker. And apparently it's about epistemic injustice. But I don't know if there's any other like books on epistemology and ethics that would be interesting. I guess that's the first question.
Depends, because my understanding of, and I haven't read the book, I'm only like vaguely familiar with it. There's like certain like trans philosophy papers that cite that in order to talk about like to like connect like misgendering and things of that sort to epistemic injustice. So there's the connection between like epistemology and morality could be like one of two things. Either it can be like an epistemic framework for how we arrive at like moral truths, or it could be the reverse, where it's like a moral framework that evaluates like the moral consequences of various epistemologies. Maybe you could tell me which of those two you mean when you talk about that.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning more kind of towards the idea of like the wrongness of trying to know something.
Oh, that's interesting. That's just completely out of my I don't know. I've never looked into anything adjacent to that before.
Yeah. So somebody had another question about that on Ask Philosophy subreddit earlier, so that kind of like got me going. I've been looking at getting into philosophy for a little bit, and the advice on the Ask Philosophy subreddit was, of course, pick a field and just go with it. And so,
Yeah. Well, I think
more.
it's very interest dependent.
Yeah, well, there's more information that I'll ever be able to absorb in a lifetime. So really just having a dedicated field is, and so I have taken a formal course in medical coding ethics.
What's medical coding ethics? What is that?
So basically, medical coders are people who basically take your medical services and plug them in so that they can be added up and charged by insurance companies. And so the medical coder sits between the doctor and your insurance company to ensure that the services are reported properly and they are not upcharging or downcharging the bill to the insurance company.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. I don't know. That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's an interesting field. It's a shame I couldn't go into it, but that's a longer story than I care to get into right now.
Yeah, sure.
That being said, I guess the second question is, what would you recommend as a good basis for just a crash course in philosophy? I'm not completely new to the subject. Like, for example, I know how to form axioms. I know, generalized terms, and I'm more familiar with the atheist side of the philosophical debate as opposed to anything else.
Sure. So there's like a couple of approaches. I think the best way to go about philosophy, okay. I think that if you're like just starting out, which it doesn't sound like you are, picking up like just one single introduction to philosophy book, like Michael Huemer's Knowledge, Reality, and Value would be good, but that doesn't seem to be applicable to you. If you're looking for like a holistic overview of philosophy, if you just want to get to know like the history of philosophy, there's an excellent book series. It's a history of philosophy by what's this dude's name? Frederick Copleston.
Okay.
So some like classic advice on how to read through the history of philosophy is to just pick up like those 7 volumes from Copleston, and then you just go through philosopher by philosopher, and when you encounter one that you like, or if you encounter like a big one like Plato, Aristotle, Descartes, Kant, etc., you stop. You like read through their sections in that book, and then you stop and you go and pick up like the actual important works of those people, and then you go and read their works, having read like the overview guide to them in the Frederick Copleston editions. But that's doing that would be, to me, like really boring. At least, so it's not that it's really boring. Like it's all important. But my interests in philosophy are like very nuanced at this point. Like they're very like niche.
Yeah.
In such a way where hearing like Leibniz talk about I don't know, man, like aesthetics, like I can't imagine something less interesting to me than hearing like, I don't know, some random philosopher talk about like their thoughts on like psychology. Like that's just like so boring to me. Like if I'm reading a philosopher at this point in my studies, I'm going to be reading them for a specific reason. I'm going to want to get something out of them. So I don't know. I think like the best advice is to know what you actually want to learn. Like, I don't know. I think that
I think what I'm trying to gauge.
Yeah.
I think what I'm trying to gauge here is like if you interact with somebody in a way philosophically, is there some type of thing that normally comes up that would be something that you're just expected to know because everybody kind of sort of knows it? You know, that kind of knowledge.
Gosh, that's a great question. I think it's hard to give an answer for that because I really do think that it's just experience. Surround yourself by people who are interested in philosophy, constantly be listening to other people's conversations about philosophy, and eventually you'll just pick up on all of the terminology, ask questions. People will always give answers. They'll always clarify their terms. They're like more than happy to. Most people who are really into philosophy are more than happy to like show off their like philosophical knowledge. So, if you ever have a question, if someone ever uses a term that you're unfamiliar with,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely
Yeah.
just like ask them. But I know, honestly, I feel like it's hard to. I'm not sure that there's a way to learn all of the terms that come up other than
Just raw dogging it.
yeah, like just by like I don't know, you should just be throwing yourself because when I first started doing philosophy, the first philosophy book I ever bought was Kant's like groundwork for the metaphysics of morals, and I think I made it like two sentences in before quitting. Like it's just a really hard to read book. And I think that there's a lot of value in books like that. Throwing yourself like hopelessly at the philosophy books until one of them makes like a little bit of sense,
Yeah.
and then like slowly building up your foundations until you actually know what's going on. It
Yeah.
takes a while, but it's doable.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I am with this book. I purchased it, and I'm going to annotate the book. And I've got a copy. I've got links to Stanford's Encyclopedia of
Hmm.
Philosophy for any vocab that like jumps out at me that I don't know about.
Yeah.
I'm not too familiar with dialectics. That's probably going to be the hardest chapter for me. But
What's the book? What's it about?
It's The Epistemic Injustice, Power and the Ethics of Knowing by Miranda
Oh,
Fricker.
well, so okay. Gosh, how do you explain a dialectic? So a dialectic is like an argument, but on like a large scale.
Okay.
It's kind of like the progression. So a dialectic operates at like many different scales. What it is at the core is a thesis, and then the negation to that thesis, like a counter argument to it, and then like some synthesis. So you'll put forward your thesis, but then it'll get negated by like devastating issues, and then somebody else will come along and they'll build off of your foundation in a way that avoids the antithesis, that avoids the critique. They'll
Okay.
solve the critique, and by doing so, they'll create something new. They'll have a new position, one that avoids the problems of the past.
Gotcha.
That's what a dialectic is, basically.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
All right, and then I think I have I think I have an escape route for your cow question.
Yeah, yeah.
So let me see if I can repeat the cow question off the top of my head. It's is there a trait or attribute that a cow has that, if given to a human, would justify us forcing them to enter the factory farming system?
Yeah, like what trait is true of cows that if true of humans would justify factory farming them, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Does the trait have to be absolute, or can it be like, 1 in every 5 people have the trait?
So you just have to be fine with saying that anybody who has the trait or who could have the trait or in like a hypothetical scenario would have the trait, you just have to say like you're fine with factory farming them.
Okay, and then the trait was absolute, and oh yes, is there any limit to the type of trait that I could pick for them to possess? Like, does it have to be physically possible, or does it have to be scientifically possible, or something like that?
Not necessarily, no, because so sometimes people say humans as the trait, like or like being a human or like not being a human. That the trait that's true of a cow, that if true of a human would justify factory farming them, is the fact that they're not a human. But like that runs into a problem because if there was like humanoid aliens that came down that look identical to humans, like Viltrumites from the show Invincible, for example, you know, I don't think it would be ethical, and I don't think anybody thinks it would be ethical to like factory farm Viltrumites.
Okay, so I think I have my escape. I think I do have an escape route. It definitely is a little bit of finagling here, but I think I'm good. The trait that I would select is humans giving birth to other cows.
Wait, so the trait that's true of cows, but that doesn't seem to be a trait that's true of cows.
That they give birth to other cows?
Oh, what about like okay, wait. So, do you think it's wrong to factory farm like an infertile cow?
Factory farm an infertile cow? No, my take on this would be that the person that's giving birth to the cow would give birth to a dairy cow, and they would enter the factory farming system as part of the dairy portion of that factory farming system, not necessarily the slaughterhouses. And the fact that they could give birth to the cow would actually be advantageous to them being part of the factory farming system, because they would take less resources and land and food in order to keep them alive, but still birth the exact same cows that they need for their milk.
Okay, I mean, I guess this doesn't really seem to be a trait that's true of cows. So, okay, wait. To clarify, you're saying the trait that's true of cows, that if true of humans would justify factory farming them, is being able to give birth to cows?
Correct.
Okay, and would you say that it's wrong to factory farm like an infertile cow?
No, not necessarily, no.
Okay. What trait is true of an infertile cow that if true of a human would justify factory farming them?
Infertile cow.
That is a very interesting answer, though. I've never heard that one before.
Yeah. I think you could get me there. I think you could get me there, because it obviously takes away my answer.
Yeah. But no, it's a good answer. I don't know. I like that answer. It's your head is definitely in the right place.
Yeah. It's a little bit of finagling. Okay. I have to jump off here for work tomorrow. So pleasure talking
Thanks
to you.
for coming up, namesake.
Yeah,
it
thank
was
you so
very nice
much.
to meet you.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a good night. Hi, Emily. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Did you have a question for Ian?
Yeah, so I don't know how many times you've been asked this, but I'm really curious. What was it like debating Jordan Peterson?
It was so when I was actually debating him, I was like really nervous. My vision was completely blurry, and it was all basically off of instinct at that point, for whatever reason. Like I don't know. I knew it was like a crucial moment. Watching the footage back, he was definitely very like slimy. Like his answers were nonsensical, and he was just kind of moving all over the place. But nevertheless, I was really happy with how I did. He wasn't very hard to debate. It was actually really easy to drag him to various topics. He just kind of got beat up by everybody. Like, I just think that it's incredible. It's an incredible episode of Jubilee, when the person in the center loses every single debate. Like, that's just fantastic.
It is.
I kind of knew at the time, too, that he was doing really bad. I had no idea how or if they were going to try to salvage this in the editing process, but it seems like they didn't. Yeah. Do you have
It
any like,
couldn't
specific
happen to a
questions about
nicer
it?
person either.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think he definitely got off guard because he started to pull out that sort of authoritative parent thing, and I'm like, what? Because as I was listening to you, I was like, you're making points. He clearly doesn't know how to respond, and so he has to like tell you off. And I thought that was really funny. And I think that definitely towards the end, when you pulled out the rebuttal in terms of the free will defense, which I will actually have to thank you for that, because I added that to my arsenal of arguments.
Awesome.
Because I mean, I'd already crafted my own sort of argument against the free will defense because I initially thought that it was problematic.
Yeah.
But your explanation was just so on point, and then he couldn't respond very well, and I was like, but like, how did you get involved with that sort of event?
Oh, they scouted me. They reached out to me over TikTok. They sent me a DM and were like, "Do you want to be on Jubilee?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." So, I just streamed enough, and then they noticed me.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, I mean, I thought that was really cool, and I had to ask you about that. But then now I do have like another question more on philosophical
Yeah, of
field,
course.
which is so what are your thoughts on emotivism to explain morality or moral positions?
So, it suffers from what's called the Frege-Grieche problem. I think that's what it's called. So if what you're doing is saying yay or boo or something of that sort, you would expect to be able to substitute those things in, and for the sentence to still make sense. So, for example, if take the sentence, if littering is wrong, then we should implement laws against littering, and then substitute into the first part, littering is wrong, for what the emotivist is saying that it means. You substitute in for that, boo littering. It should remain. It should retain the exact same coherence and the exact same truth value, but it just doesn't. The proposition or the sentence, if boo littering, then we should implement laws against littering, just doesn't have the same semantic value as the sentence, if littering is wrong, then we should implement laws against littering. Like, these just seem to be two completely different sentences to me.
Do you think that moral positions have a truth value?
Sorry, could you speak up?
Yeah. Do you think that moral positions have a truth value?
I'm inclined to think so. They're at least propositional. They certainly seem to be. They take the form of propositions. You can substitute them in like propositions. You can put them in conditionals like propositions. I think so. Whether they're relative or not, I think is a separate question. But they definitely seem to have at least some truth value, regardless of whether or not it's agent relative or not agent relative.
Because I would argue that on the surface level, people would begin with sort of a type of emotivism because we're all moved by our sort of initial reaction. But then, like you just brought up, which is correct, in terms of applying it on more of a legal framework that is more practical, I would incline to agree that that needs to take more thought, more logic. So, I mean, do you think that they could kind of coexist? Because I don't think the average person is going to sit down and dissect in some sort of logical method to determine if this is moral or not. It's just going to be instinctual. It's just going to be based on how they feel.
Yeah. So, I think what's important with like emotivism is like remembering like the claim revolves around like whether or not these are propositional, and that they're not propositional, and that instead what they're doing is something that like equivalent to like a yay or a boo. I think that you can have knee-jerk reactions that are propositional. Like you can, if someone starts like charging at you, you can like hold the belief that person is charging at me. And that's like a very instinctual belief that gets formed, but that belief is like propositional. So I don't think the fact that moral statements are very like knee-jerk necessarily means that they're not propositional.
Sure. But I think like more like, how do I put this? More like typical, more, for example, like murder or unaliving,
Yeah.
right? That's a very common position, right? Obviously, people will be moved to think that's problematic because we have empathy and we could relate and we could put ourselves in an image, and we wouldn't want to not exist in this world. So therefore, it would be
immoral to want somebody else. But then we can also dig deeper. So aside from that superficial thing of our initial empathetic response, we can dive a little bit deeper and say, okay, well, there's also a violation of consent and yada, yada, yada. And we can dissect it a bit more in a logical framework in order to determine if this applies more in a legal term. So I was viewing that in terms of that sort of step in that model. Does that make sense or not?
Maybe I'm misunderstanding it. Are you just saying that you would understand it through like an empathy-based framework, or?
Well, yeah, so I think that like there's an initial superficial playing field in which one adopts a position primarily through sort of intuitions, through feelings, through sort of empathic responses.
Yes.
But then in terms of applying it more practically, in terms of, for example, in a societal level, if we want to implement this in terms of law so that people are held accountable if they violate such things, that would require more of an in-depth logical look to think, okay, because obviously if we can feel bad, for example, like you said, littering, but is it worth making a law to kind of put people in prison for doing said action? Probably not. We would weigh up in terms of a more logical response, I suppose is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no. I think I understand what you're saying. Although I think it's worth noting that emotivism doesn't, and I don't know if this is what you think. I might just not be understanding. But emotivism isn't just like when we form our beliefs based on like emotions or intuitions, but is specifically that making a moral claim is like identical to saying like yay or boo. So if we said littering is bad, that would be just identical to saying boo littering, and like cheering or the opposite are not like that. Those obviously aren't propositions. There isn't like a truth value to that. But my argument isn't that like we should I don't know, like make it illegal, but it's more of like a meta level argument about like propositions and truth values, or moral propositions and truth values, that if a proposition has a truth value, you should be able to, or doesn't have a truth value, if it has like something that's identical to, so for example, like saying hooray, charity, yay charity, then that should be, you should be able to substitute in yay charity for every single time somebody says charity is good. But it just doesn't seem like you can do that, especially in things like conditionals. I don't know if that makes sense at all.
Right. So do you think this position requires it to be universal and not particular? Like, couldn't positions where in typical circumstances this applies, but there may be an outlier in which it doesn't? Are you saying that this has to occur in all circumstances in order for this to apply?
For which one?
Well, because you're saying if you replace this with a yay, then this would apply in all circumstances.
So, for if you hold to emotivism, then yeah, for every single time a moral proposition is uttered, you need to be able to replace that with yay or boo, because that's the thesis of emotivism. It's saying that moral claims are identical to like emoting, like you're just saying yay charity, boo littering. So every time somebody says charity is good, you should be able to replace that with them saying yay charity, and it should remain, it should make exactly as much sense. It should remain identically coherent. But I think conditionals show that that's not true, because in a conditional that was like, if donating to charity is good, then I don't know, like God would approve of it. I don't think that you can replace the if donating to charity there with yay charity. I don't think the sentence if yay charity, then God would approve of charity, has the same truth value as saying if donating to charity is good, then God would approve of it. I think that in like that regard, I don't know. That's my biggest problem with emotivism, is that it suffers from like the substitution problem.
So that position wouldn't fit within a moral relativism like framework.
I'm pretty sure relativism holds that they're propositional. I could be wrong about this. Maybe emotivism is considered a form of relativism, but I thought relativism is propositional.
I mean, I'm not entirely sure, but I guess under my perception, I was applying it in terms of a more, which is why I wasn't applying it in every single circumstance. But I could be wrong as well. I'm still learning all of this.
Yeah.
But that's how I was understanding it to be.
Yeah.
But it's something that I'm going to look into more because I guess I am diving into that a bit more and understand it. But I just had one quick question because I think that's important for me to understand, which is what do you think it to mean when we say truth value? What does that mean?
Sure. So I hold to a deflationary theory of truth, which basically just means that I don't think truth is a real property of things. I think that saying snow is white is identical to saying it is true that snow is white. I don't think adding like it's true like actually does anything. I think it's like kind of like a fake property. Truth in that sense just becomes like that which is the case. So when I say it's true that snow is white, I'm just saying that it's the case that snow is white, which of course is just identical to the claim snow is white. So
So essentially, could you argue that it's something that either exists or doesn't exist, whether it's abstractly or physically?
uh, ooh, that's kind of a tricky question because I think that there would be some things that are true even without existence. Like, let's say reality itself doesn't exist. I think it's still probably true that a square has four sides.
Unless you say it exists within our imagination.
So, can you speak up?
I said unless you argue that it exists within our imagination.
Um, yeah. Maybe even then, because it's an analytic truth. So, possibly, depending on your ontology, that might change. Although I'm not even sure if that would be the case. This relies on some like ontology reading that I just haven't done, but I know that this is like a pretty well regarded position that there would be some things that are true, even if reality itself didn't exist.
Okay. Well, I do appreciate the conversation. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Emily, thank you so much for coming up. We really appreciate you.
All right. Thank you so
Hey,
much.
David. You too. Hey, David,
Hey, how's
can
it
I get
going?
your age for TikTok purposes?
Yeah, my name, I'm 19.
Okay, and you have a question for Ian?
Yeah, so, I don't know if like you already told the other guests, I kind of like started listening a little late, but, what were some like book recommendations you like gave to them?
Yeah.
Or like, yeah, you like preserved,
Is there like a specific field that you're interested in?
um, well, I've been tuning into your lives and it kind of like really got me into like the ethics and like religion side of like philosophy. So I'm like, that's kind of like one that I'm like really like honing into. So,
Sure. Well, there's like a lot of good. I guess it's hard because a lot of the books that I think are like really, really, really good are also really expensive. The
yeah.
unfortunate reality is that academic philosophy books are really expensive. They're meant for universities to purchase, which means that they're all like $50 to $100, which is just like a brutal ask for most people. And
No,
in that
yeah.
sense, I'm like very fortunate to have my community that allows me to get access to things like those. But in terms of books that I think are really good, like definitely worth the read, basically every book that Graham Oppie wrote is fantastic. It's a fantastic overview to philosophy of religion. I think the dialogue between Josh Rasmussen and Felipe Leon it's titled "Is God the Best Explanation for Things?" That book is just phenomenal. Like at every single level of analysis, like it just kicks ass. Like in every possible way, the arguments on both sides are fantastic. It's like the best of the best is getting rolled out. In terms of philosophy more generally, if you were just looking for like an intro to philosophy book, I think that Michael Huemer's Knowledge, Value, and Reality is really good. Michael Huemer prides himself on being like a very approachable philosopher. His viewpoints are all very common sense. So I think that, and I don't know, I think he's like perhaps wrong about everything, but it's like a really good starting point because he starts with like the common sense notions of all
And you
of
said,
it.
yeah, and you said that was like for his, what was it called, like knowledge, value, something like that. What was
Yeah,
it?
knowledge, value, and reality. Yeah.
So he starts on a by like appealing more to like our intuitions, or like philosophy like is like, well, I don't know, I don't know if I'm like wording it right. You said like he's like really like focusing on like people's like common sense stuff, or like, what I'm trying to say, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he thinks that one of the ethical systems that, or no, not ethical systems, the epistemological system that he uses is called phenomenal conservatism, which is based almost entirely in your intuitions. So he thinks that using your intuitions is like the correct way to go about arriving at truth. And I think there are problems with that. I don't think that's a perfect way of going about things, but I think it's a really good starting place.
Yeah, I see. I mean, I've heard you like use the phenomenal like conservatism, like
Mhm.
like sometimes in interviews. I'm not sure like what in what specific scenarios. I think it was like when the caller like refused to, like, how do you know about like that, what you're seeming, like you're like whatever you're seeming is like true, or like
Yeah.
justified, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
his epistemology is that you're justified in believing what seems to be the case to you unless you have a reason to think that it's not true, unless you have some sort of defeater to the seeming. For example, maybe it seems like your walls are melting, but you took something that might make it seem like your walls are melting. So at that point, your seeming that the walls are melting would be undercut by the fact of like the things that you've consumed within the last hour. So,
like
um,
yeah, like would phenomenal conservatism only apply in certain scenarios, like until like they're like basically, I don't know, like doubt is raised about them,
yeah.
or like in some.
So it combines two things. It combines phenomenalism about epistemology, which is just that your epistemic foundations are your seemings, like the way things appear to you. That is like the foundation of epistemology, with conservatism, which is basically that your seemings are guilty until or no, your seemings are innocent until proven guilty.
I see.
So you have the presumption that like what appears to be the case. So for example, it appears that this table is in front of me. It appears that I'm talking to you right now. These seemings are innocent until they're proven guilty. So for example, if I had like a memory of like consuming something that would be very like mind altering 30 minutes
Mhm.
ago, then I actually would have a reason to doubt that we're having this conversation right now. Like I actually wouldn't know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a justification for thinking that my seemings are accurate. They would be undercut. But because I don't have any memory of that sort, it just seems like we're having this conversation. And because I don't have a reason to doubt that, I'm justified in believing that.
So you said, so just like to paraphrase, you said like that your seemings are like, you can consider your seemings as like true or something like that, if there's like really a doubt about it, or like if there's like nothing.
So it gives you justification. That's the key thing. It just gives you a reason to believe.
Okay.
It doesn't
Because
say like you know it for certain. It doesn't say that it's like 100% true, couldn't possibly be wrong. What it says is that you have a reason to believe.
mhm. Yeah, that was because I remember, because I'm kind of like seeing the frame of like what, like, because I remember I took a class in my freshman philosophy, and like it was we were like running through like a bunch of these books, like, and like one of them that we wrote, rather we read, was one of the Descartes' meditations on first philosophy. And in his first meditation, he says he posits oh, what if everything's like a dream? Like, oh, how can you distinguish that like a dream from reality? Like, oh, there's that one doubt that could be raised about it. So I'm thinking so what we say was okay, well, I have no reason to think it's a dream or not. So until something gives credence to that possibility, I'm justified to think my seemings are the way they are.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't seem like you're being deceived by an evil demon about all of your senses and all of your perceptions. The possibility of a defeater is not a defeater. There needs to be some reason to actually think that your seemings aren't accurate. If there isn't, well, you simply just don't have a defeater in that circumstance.
And so for example, when a caller would say, hey, you're then because the callers usually use that possibility of oh, everything, you have no justification for believing your seemings are the way they are. And so when they give that possibility, it's just that doesn't really prove the point they really want to prove. Then given phenomenal I can't even word it, the phenomenological conservatism, or I'm saying that correctly?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
So sometimes the callers will I don't know, I think it's the tag caller when they say how everything is relying on God, logic, reality, or something like that, and then they're saying well, how do you justify logic, how do you justify what was it called, your perception of reality, how do you know anything's true, and can't you just apply phenomenal conservatism to that then?
Yeah, you can. Although typically people are confused. The people who ask that question or questions like those are typically severely confused about what they're asking. I think very often what they think that they're asking for is an epistemic thing. They think what they want is some source of knowledge, but actually what they want is a grounding thing. Or very often what they'll ask for explicitly, their words will be, what grounds your knowledge? And that's an ontology question. That's a question of so the table is grounded in the atoms that make up the table. What is logic grounded in? What is the thing? Logic exists because of what? Which is a very different question from how do you know logic exists? So if the question is well, how do you know logic exists? Well, you can just reason to the existence of logic based on the distinctions that exist within your perception. So the fact that some things appear to be pink and some things appear to be purple indicates that there's distinctions between things, which necessitates the laws of logic. Any distinction between anything necessitates the laws of logic. So that's an epistemic justification. But if the question is more of an ontological justification, I think the answer could be similar, and it could just be the properties that differentiate these things. The difference in properties is what makes this up, or what is the grounding of the laws of logic. But yeah, you could use phenomenal conservatism, although in order to prove phenomenal conservatism, typically you need to give a logical argument, which means that you need to have proven logic to be true.
Yeah. And I remember you mentioned one time the logic thing, logic is you said logic is this because there's differences, I think you said in qualia, your experience.
Yeah.
So I was reflecting over it. Okay, I was wondering how someone could respond to
well, can you speak up? You're a bit quiet.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Maybe I can just turn my volume up. Yeah, go for it.
So what I was trying to say is I was thinking it over, and I was thinking some possible responses someone could say, and I was thinking okay, they could probably say something well, you don't know, how do you know there's actually a distinction? How do you not know if your brain is just deceiving you, if there is a distinction in your qualia, or if your qualia is even real? And kind of what I thought was it doesn't matter so much so that if that my I'm being tricked that there's a distinction, or that my qualia is isn't real or anything. The fact that that I could be deceived of a distinction, even if I can conceptualize the concept of a distinction, would that in and of itself to still be proof for or rather a way for you to know what logic is? If I'm making myself clear on
Well,
that.
if they tell you that there's a distinction between, or well, if they tell you that you could be being deceived about the distinction, then that means that there would be a distinction between what you
Yeah.
believe and the reality of the situation, which means even in that scenario, there would still be a distinction.
Yeah, that's kind of what you basically like worded it better than what I could. Yeah, that's basically what I was trying to say.
Yep. Yeah, there's going to
So
be a distinction no matter what.
yeah, and that's that's how you like how you how you know like there is logic how
Yep.
you know. Okay, I see. All right, and maybe like I could ask a question on like how do you personally approach reading like texts of, like even like I've like picked up some of these older books. I said like I read like a bit of like Leibniz, a little bit of Descartes,
Mhm.
and I don't know. I kind of get like a little caught up with like the technicalities, the technical words, and like I'm like
Yeah.
really like thinking into it. I'm thinking to myself, well, there might be a little more efficient way to actually like comprehend and retain it better. Like, what is your
There
kind of like
is.
approach? Because you said like you read, but I want to oh, how do they like like
I read what?
yeah, because you mentioned that you like learn philosophy by like reading, like you personally,
Yep.
like you do a lot of yeah. So I
Yeah,
was wondering
well,
like what
but the key is, I would never go and read Leibniz. I would never go and read Descartes. What I would read is somebody who's actually just reconstructing their arguments. You don't want to read some like 14th century gibberator. What you want to read is like an analytic philosopher who's who published a book within the last 50 years that
yeah.
reconstructs the argument in like a premise conclusion form. Um, I think that that's like just a much more efficient way. Like you can force yourself through like Descartes like meditations. You can force yourself through groundwork for the for the metaphysics of morals. But there's kind of no point to it. It's kind of a waste of time. What you actually should be doing is picking up a work by someone who is like who reconstructed all of Descartes' arguments and like salvages them against critiques.
Yeah.
Someone who can summarize it to you in modern English as opposed to like 16th century nonsense. You know, you want to be. I don't know. I don't think there's much value in going and reading like original philosophers.
Yeah, because like my mentality was like, oh, maybe just like start with like what they where basically all originated from. Where these like questions like start from, and like kind of like what you said, like I could just go to like a different philosopher that like say the same thing, word it much better without the gibberish and all that nonsense, and like yeah, I could see that we could definitely start like doing like we're starting to like read more of the modern stuff. And you said like Granopi, the like that one you could like start like looking into like for like religion because I originally thought maybe I could like start with like these older philosophers when they get like whatever they talk with religion and whatnot. So you said I could just go with like Granopi and I can get a pretty good start of.
Yeah.
Like,
Also, like none of the arguments that any of the older philosophers made are actually relevant anymore in terms of philosophy of religion. I mean, Hume's problem of evil was kind of relevant, not really. There's like the best versions of these arguments are not the ones that got made in the 14th century. They're ones that are made by philosophers today, ones who published a paper in the last like 30 years that lays out like some killer problem of evil. I don't know. It's like probably going to be like Paul Draper's case about the deer that's trapped under like the burning wood. That's a really good problem of evil, and it's just not one you're going to find. Likewise, the better cosmological arguments are going to be the ones that are made by Rasmussen that invoke like modal logic and like the S5 axiom. It's not going to be one that you find in like Aquinas.
I see. And on that note, I remember you mentioned something about like an argument against God. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was something like God does like God's will can only be actively willing because given his like property of like unchangingness or something like that.
Yeah. So either he was always willing something, or he was not always willing something. If he was always willing something, then it would have always been happening. But if he wasn't always willing something, then he would have gone from not willing it to willing it, which would have been a change. So either the thing that God was willing has always happened and is always happening currently, or the alternative is that the thing that God willed, God changed, which is a problem for him being outside of time.
Yeah, and use it to like to demonstrate that contrary to like the what's certain like um theology like require that their God to be a creator. Like if their God can only be eternally willing, and therefore like whatever they've been willing has to be internally existing alongside with them, then they could have been the creator because that implies a change.
Yeah.
I see. I was wondering. Okay, I was thinking about
David, before you go on any further, I need to say a couple of really quick announcements, okay? Just one
Yeah, no
second.
problem. Yeah.
One, people are asking about resources, book recommendations, and so forth from Ian. And Ian, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you join Ian's Discord, you're going to get a lot of that information, and it's free. It's right on his profile there.
Yeah.
And yeah, so if you're looking for the things he's talking about, and he's accessible, you can re-ask these questions in his Discord and say, hey, what was that book you recommended? Okay, so make sure you're checking out his Discord, and that was really the main one. David, go on. I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure people knew where to get the resources.
No, you're totally fine. Yeah. Let's see where I was. Oh yeah. So I was thinking about like this argument that you presented. I was thinking like, okay, what are some possible like responses that a theist would give to this? Because like when I heard of this argument, I was like, oh, actually, this makes a lot of sense. And like the way they described it, this like the conclusion just seems like pretty apparent and like pretty true. And I thought of like the theist saying, okay, the God to like avoid the issue of like something like being eternally existing alongside it. What if they were to say that God eternally willed a interval of time in such that the whatever like they willed existed in the future? If you know what I'm trying to say.
So the problem with that is that in order to avoid, this would just need to be like a property of God. Like he at that point would just have to have the property of doing like X thing at like T time, which is a problem because at that point he doesn't have free will, and if he doesn't have free will, he's not all powerful. That's a problem because in order to do things at specific times, you would need like it to happen at a specific inertial reference frame, and that's going to be a problem because that means that God would need to be arbitrarily selecting an inertial reference frame to make it like the time of. There's just like kind of a lot of problems. I think that like you can run the divine calendar. I just think that there's lots of problems with it.
I see. So, well, if I'm getting you correctly, you're saying that if they were to say that God was eternally willing in an interval of time where the event takes place, it's basically saying, well, he's willing something like something like in the future, and that like he says like that also contradicts like his like timelessness or I don't know if I got that correctly.
Yeah, so if God was willing, let's say God was eternally willing Jesus to raise from the dead on the third day, then that means that he just doesn't have the free will to not do that. That means that this is like an essential property of God. It's like a necessary property of him, which means that he just doesn't have the free will to not do that. That just means that he just like straight up doesn't have free will.
Wait, you could clarify a little bit more on that response?
Okay. So if God was eternally willing Jesus to raise on the third day, he doesn't have the free will to will anything other than that because he's eternally willing that and he can't change.
Oh, okay. So like, yeah, all the things that he was willing were already eternally willed. They couldn't have been anything different because if they were different, that would imply a change.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay. Oh. Okay. I see. I can see that. Yeah. So he has no free will because he's already willing everything, eternally, and like he can't like change that will. Okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I think I've heard like a certain response like, oh, I mean, I think it also falls victim to like that kind of thing. Oh, well, regardless, um, that the will have to change. I think I've heard something about like God having two wills or something like that. So I don't know where I heard of that. But like they say like the first will is the unchanging one, and then the other one's like the will that he like allows like prayer to address and whatnot. But I'm thinking like well that still would contradict him. Like he's in whatever this timeless realm, whatever he is in. Like I would like the contradiction regardless, even if one of his wills like changes. I don't know if like you ever heard of that kind of thing. Like,
Well, that just sounds like gibberish. I don't know what the hell it means to say that he has like two wills. I don't know what that means.
Yep, that's what I'm saying. Because remember, I think it was like when I was younger. When I was like going to church, I was like I heard something along these lines, and I'm like, I kind of like thinking, okay, whatever, I guess, whatever they're saying, like, it's true and whatnot. But like years after, like, given what I've heard, like that specific argument that you gave, I was like, actually, this doesn't make sense. Two wills, I mean, regardless, they can't be changing. Like he's in this, like, he has this property of timelessness.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, it doesn't make like any sense for them to say that.
I don't mean to wrap this up, David, but people are waiting and they keep dropping and coming back because they want to ask some questions too. So if you could wrap this up, it'd be great. Truth has been so patient, and so has Brodo. And I've seen one guest come and go a few times, so I want to give other people a chance.
Yeah, I guess I could just rapid fire this. Like I could I remember to like the initial argument they gave. I rather like this possible theistic response. I kind of said like, okay, well. If God says that eternally wills an interval of time such that that event takes place, wouldn't he just be willing two things? Then he's willing some time and then that event as well. Like
I don't know. I still have just no idea what it means for God to have two wills. I couldn't even answer that question because I just don't even know what that means.
No. I'm referring to like the previous a little back that initial argument that you gave of the. His will, he can only be eternally willing because he can't change and whatnot.
Can you maybe restate the question?
Yeah. So to the possible theist response that I thought of that God could have been eternally willing for an interval of time to exist for that event to exist, I could just say, well, he's kind of just like willing he's both willing time and that event as well. So he's just instead of willing one thing, he's willing two things, but that still kind of doesn't answer resolve the issue, I guess.
Well, no, I think that the biggest problem with this is just that he wouldn't have free will. If he's eternally willing something and he can't change, then he just doesn't have free will. Like, this is a necessary thing for him to will. And if all the things that he's willing are necessary, they couldn't be otherwise. And they can't be otherwise, of course, right? Because he's always been doing them. Then the implication of this is that God just doesn't have free will. And if he doesn't have free will, then he's not all powerful.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Sure. Yeah. That's the last of my question. Yeah. So it's hard if I kept everyone waiting. I just wanted to get that one off my chest. Yeah. Yep, I appreciate it. I'm a big fan.
Make sure you join the Discord, David. Make sure you join his Discord.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I'm already in his Discord. Don't worry about it. I'm already in.
Awesome.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Ian.
All right. Thanks for being here. We really appreciate you. Hey, Truth, can I get your age for TikTok purposes?
Yeah, I'm 21.
All right. Did you have a question for Ian? Thank you so much for your patience, by the way. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. Well, with regard to what you said before, that a triangle would be a square even if reality didn't exist, I would argue and say that reality needs is like a grounding to hold a logical truth.
I'm not sure why. Typically, what the grounding for a proposition is its truth maker. And typically, analytic truths are regarded as being without truth makers. So in that sense, it seems like they would be without grounding, just according to like the modern conception or like the most common theories in philosophy.
But I would argue into that analytic truths need reality to even be something, to have a meaning at all.
So you can clarify the proposition, like just by getting clear on what the terms are. A four-sided shape has four sides, and that's going to be true even if four-sided shapes don't exist. Even if nothing exists, four-sided shapes are still going to have four sides. A squared circle is a squared circle. It's not like a squared oval. So these are going to be true despite the fact that none of these things actually exist, just based on the definition of the terms.
Okay. I'm saying we're talking in now in reality. Once reality came about, I would say, yeah, I understand what you're saying. I don't necessarily agree because I think you need reality to have any truth whatsoever. But,
well, I mean, in a reality, if reality didn't exist, certainly it would be true that reality doesn't exist.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, back to where you're talking about with the other guy, you said that what would be the problem with God not eternally willing the world into existence?
So the problem that I see with that is just that means that God changes. He goes from not willing the universe to willing the universe, which means that at one state God is not willing the universe, and then he changes to willing the universe. And that doesn't seem to be like the type of thing that a being that's outside of time can do. If you're outside of time, then you don't have a past or a future. But this would require a past and a future. You would need a past state where you're not willing the universe into existence, and then you would need a future state where you are. So that just doesn't seem compatible with a being that's outside of time. And God can't be in time because time is physical.
Can you create time without time?
I don't think so. I think that creation is the type of act that requires time. If we understand time to just be the progression of reality, the progression of existence, then it seems like the act of creation itself would require a progression of existence. It would require time. You would go from the thing not existing to the thing existing. That's a progression, which means that it would require time.
Yeah, I would see that itself as an argument against God.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite arguments.
Yeah, and finally, it's in I guess trend for people who follow science to support the LGBTQ, but like I can fully acknowledge that people have gender dysphoria, but I think when it comes to medical, I would say that farmer people are actually putting the label on themselves than people actually have it.
Well, I mean, it's like okay. If what we're talking about is just like trans people in general, you can be trans without gender dysphoria. I don't know anyone who like lies about having gender dysphoria.
Me neither.
But there's just like lots of like trans people who don't have it. And they're
Okay,
still
so-
trans, they just don't have gender dysphoria.
Okay. Is gender have correlation with sex?
By correlation in like a statistical sense?
Meaning, does it have like a? I'm not sure how to explain it, but
Like, if by correlation you mean like a statistical correlation, then yeah, in the same way that like being a man is correlated with, being over like 6 feet tall, yeah, I think that there's like a correlation that's there, but I don't think that sex determines
Not,
gender.
yeah, I kind of don't really understand that because what kind of correlation, like, so you mean, can you explain that?
Yeah, so a correlation is just when there's like two data sets and the occurrence of one data set has like a high propensity to happen with the other data set. So if you have an individual who is 6 feet tall, the only thing that you know about them is that they're 6 feet tall, and you have to guess whether this person is a man or a woman. Statistically, the best guess is that this person is a man. That doesn't mean that it's impossible that this person is a woman, but statistically, the correlation there is going to be that men are correlated with like taller heights. So you just have like better odds if you take that guess. But of course, like it could totally be a woman. You just don't know. But there's like, there are certainly statistics that go along with it.
Yeah. What's the difference between a woman and a trans woman?
I think a trans woman is a woman. So I'd say that woman is like the overall category, and then trans women are like a subset of that category.
Yeah, but they don't really answer my question.
Well, I'm a woman. Can I answer that question for you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. A trans woman is, that's just describing the woman. It's still a woman. I happen to be a blue-eyed woman.
Okay.
It's just a woman.
Yeah, but there is no category of, I would say, how do you describe it in the sense that you could put it in the dictionary?
An adult gendered female.
Yeah. Truth, did you have any questions, though, for Ian regarding anything else? Because if not, we have a line, and I'd like to get to the rest of the guests. I only get Ian for 3 hours today.
Yeah, I was just, my problem with it is that people have genital change affirming surgery.
Yeah.
And I just don't see that as...
and this isn't a debate forum tonight, okay? This is Decon Q&A with CrystalJae. If you want to debate Ian on topics, he goes live and you can debate him on topics. But I feel like we need to move the show along to people who came up to ask him some questions now, okay?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for your time, Ian.
Yep, absolutely. And
Thank you.
Just to say like one final thing about that, I certainly think that whether or not bottom surgery is the right decision, well, to me that just seems obviously like something that I'm going to leave to the doctors. I think the doctors know way better than you or I. If the research, if all the medical research says that it's good and it's medically effective for reaching the goals that these people are trying to reach, if it has like lots of positive benefits, I'm not going to argue with the researchers about the objective fact of the matter, about the objective benefits that it has. I think that it's between a person and their doctor.
That's more to do with psychology, though, than actual science.
Are you a
psychology?
psychologist?
Psychology is a science.
Okay. Well, you got me. Okay, thanks.
All right, have a good night.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
Hey, Brodo, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing well.
Good. You're over 18?
Yeah.
All right. Do you have a question for Ian?
Oh, yeah. I just want to start.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I just say one thing real quick? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you, Dugald, and thank you, Sam Raiders. I didn't want to interrupt conversations that were going on, but thank you so much for the raids. Thank you for the subscribers. I'm sorry, Brodo. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I just want to start out by saying that I watch Ian's live all the time when I'm at work. It's super entertaining, so thank you very much for
Awesome.
that. I am wondering though, because I don't ever see you get like frustrated or anything. Like you seem pretty level-headed. I'm curious to know what's like the most insufferable conversations you find yourself in.
Well, that's a good question. So there's like two categories. One is when I could not, it's when I realize that this person doesn't believe in God, and there isn't a good way to get them off of my live without looking like I'm like cutting the conversation short. So often I'll talk to someone and it'll turn out that what they are is just like an idealist, where they just think that the fundamental substance of reality is mind, that we're, you know, things like all objects only exist because your mind perceives them to exist. And it's like, well, that's just not what I'm looking for in a God debate. Like, that's simply not what God is. And I'll realize that that's what they mean. Or they'll say, well, I think God is the universe. I think God is energy. And at that point, I'm too far into the debate to like cut it short without looking bad, in my opinion. Like, I can't just cut it short and remain like retain like the credibility. So now I have to argue through this position with this person, despite the fact that I couldn't care less and that my audience couldn't care less. And I think it's probably just a result of my pride. But I that's those conversations are insufferable. Whenever somebody is like a full blown sophist, when there's like a type of like debate style that's just full steam ahead, where people will directly affirm contradictions, but they'll say them with like a lot of confidence. And they'll answer your question really quickly, and their answer will be gibberish, but it will be like a very confident gibberish. If you know like the person whose name is like Deathless Light, this guy is like the platonic ideal of sophistry. He is like that exact. He's like the exact model of that. Where Angel Investments is another good example, where he just goes full steam ahead, biting contradictions. I've literally heard him deny the law of identity before, and people still thought that he was winning. It's conversations like those are frustrating. And then finally, conversations when people are just not engaging, when they don't try to engage at all, when they're like not even listening to the responses. Although at this point, for the last two categories, I've developed my rhetoric to have ways to like trip these people up. Because what you really want to do with someone who's like a sophist going full speed ahead is slow them down. You want to go extremely linear. You want to drag them back to the same question over and over and over again as many times as it takes for them to answer it. You want to force them to answer it. So yeah, those are like three conversations that I find frustrating.
Yeah, I feel like anytime I'm scrolling through TikTok and I see like Q Top Live or something like that, like those conversations are so insufferable. I feel like I got like poisoned or something. It's like I can't even describe it. It's maddening though. Like I get actually angry, but that's like more of an internal thing for me. But I don't know why I get so like triggered and angry when I see him doing his rhetoric.
Yeah. Although at this point, I think Q-Top is like pretty low tier. I actually think that I could teach like a fifth grader to beat Q-Top in a debate.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I had. Just good luck in your future debates and stuff, and I'll be there watching.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Berto, thanks for coming up. We really appreciate you. Have a good night.
Yeah, you as well.
Hey, C, how are you tonight? Can I get your age for TikTok purposes?
I'd be scared to put Q-Top in a room with a fifth grader. True.
Oh my God. You're probably, thank you so much for sending out all the subscriptions. Thank you so much. C, I'm going to send you a thing to unmute. Are you with us? Okay, well, we're going to go on to Solovino, but I'm going to leave you up here for a little bit to see if you figure out that you're muted right now. Solo, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing doing great. What's new? What you got? You got some questions for Ian?
Oh my gosh, it's like whenever I'm watching Ian's lives, I have all these questions, and then I feel like I should just write them down because you never get an opportunity to talk to Ian because he's always talking to, the theists and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so now that I've got this opportunity, I've got a jumble of questions. I don't know which one to decide, but I would say, first of all, do you believe in free will? I don't know if I've gotten that from you.
Depends on how you define it. I think that it's a verbal dispute. I think free will is actually one of the least interesting questions in metaphysics because I think that it's entirely resolved based on just how you define the word. I think that because some people define free will to be like you're like the uncaused cause of all of your actions, and I think that's obviously false. But if what you mean is something like you're the source of your actions, well, yeah, I agree with that. I think you're the source of your actions. You're one of many sources of your actions. So if that's what people mean by free will, then I probably agree with that. If they mean something like you have the ability to do otherwise, I'm not really sure. That would require like a position on like possible worlds, which I don't really take. If it's just saying like it's like possible that you could have done otherwise, I don't know. I'm not sure if I believe in like necessitarianism. So it would kind of come down to a question of whether or not I find that to be compelling. So if that's the definition, then I would just remain agnostic to it. So to answer your question, I think it like just trivially follows based on how you define the word free will.
Okay, well then let's move away from that. If I could just ask one more, and then I'll move on because I know we got a line here.
Yeah.
The next one would be on the issue of God creating time. I really, really like this argument.
Yeah.
Because for the longest time, I was a Kalam person. I really love the Kalam cosmological argument.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, this I don't see how this is going to get beaten. And then when that came along, I was like, oh shit. I was like, how does God end up doing anything at all if he's timeless? But I wonder what you would say to Dr. Craig's reply to this when he said, and he admits that he's using tenseless language in order to talk about it. Which I think is sneaky, but he'll say something to the effect of, sans creation, God is timeless. But at the moment of the Big Bang, he enters into time. And to me, it just sounds as if though he's speaking about something that's prior or before, but he's not using the word before. And so I wonder what your take is on that.
Yeah, that's my exact understanding of it too. I think that this is like kind of it's like a distinction without meaning. Like it's like there's no reason to make it other than to like try to salvage a pretty indefensible position. I think that this runs into like the exact problem in the time argument, where if we understand time as just the progression of existence, it seems like going from being not in time to being in time, well, that seems like the exact sort of thing that it would be a progression of existence. It seems like God would progress his existence, but that means that time would have to exist. So that would be kind of like a critical problem in my mind for that position.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you for your time. I'm going to let other people take a crack at it, but it was a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'm glad that you like the time
Solo,
argument.
thanks for coming up. I love you, Solo. Thanks for being here.
Love you too.
Hey, Livia, how are you?
Hi, I'm fantastic. How are you too?
Doing great. Can I get your age for TikTok purposes?
I'm in my 40s.
Okay. Do you have a question for Ian?
I do. A quick comment first. Just want to say thank you to both of you for your allyship when that person was asking about what trans women are. Loved your answers, 10 out of 10. Amazing.
Thank you. Yeah.
And this may be a little bit pedantic, but Ian, feel like you like that kind of thing, so maybe I can offer
Sure.
a suggestion
Yeah, go
in
for
language
it.
use. In examples where you're talking about gender, and when you use the implied binary man or woman, when you're talking about a fictitious person, I'd encourage you to be more open with that and talk about them not just in that binary, because their gender could be something entirely different.
Can
Just
you
a
give an
thought.
example? Like, I'm totally open to this critique, but can you give me like an example of this?
Yes, earlier you were talking about, I forget the exact example, but you were talking about a person and wanting to know their gender. Oh, it was about the height, right? And you said you don't know if this person is a man or a woman, but they could also be non-binary.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
So it's just expansive, the more we talk that way, the more normalized it gets.
Yeah. No. No. I hear you on that. Yeah. I suppose. I suppose on average, non-binary people would probably have like a height that's somewhere in between them. So yeah, I could work that in.
Great. Thanks for being receptive.
Yeah,
I
of
also had
course.
a thought on the God arguments,
Sure.
and I'm wondering if God, thinking about properties, right? If God has the property of, let's say, creator, I guess is a thing that maybe people claim, like, then wouldn't it have to be, because God can't change, wouldn't it be the case that God was always the creator? Like he couldn't change from having not created something to having created something.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I've thought about this before. I think that this is like a huge problem, because I think God being a creator would have to be an essential property, but there would be a state of reality where God hadn't created anything. So
Yeah,
God
right?
would be the creator. He would have the property of being a creator, but he wouldn't have created anything at the very, very, very start of reality.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
thoughts
I've thought about
exactly.
this
Okay.
before. I think this is like a big problem. I haven't, I feel like I haven't arrived at like a debate where, I think I'm still like trying to work it into the repertoire somehow. But I agree. I think it's like a big problem.
Yeah, and could that also be expanded to God actually doing anything? Because same idea, right? Property of having not done X to property of having done X.
Yeah. Yeah. I have run that argument. That's one that I have run. Or at least like I've run it in terms of like his beliefs. So, let's say that God gives somebody like a personal experience. You know, he comes down, he says, I'm gonna reveal myself to you, and then he comes down and he's like, "What's up? I'm God. I'm real. Stop, turn your life around." Or whatever all the personal experiences always are. So prior to him doing this, he would have held the belief, I haven't gone down and told this person to turn their life around. But after he did that, certainly he would be holding the belief, I have gone down and told this person to turn their life around. So it seems like unavoidably, God's beliefs are changing.
Yeah, I'm with you. Thanks for confirming my priors.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all for me. So thank you both very much. Appreciate you. Ian, love your lives.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Livia,
Yeah.
thanks for coming up. We appreciate you.
My pleasure. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Hey, Hercules, how are you? Can I get your age for TikTok purposes? Hercules? Hercules? Am I saying it right? It looks like
It has to be
Hercules.
Hercules. That'd be
Right?
crazy.
Are you there?
I am trying to figure it out. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Can I
I
get
am
your age for TikTok purposes?
absolutely. I am 27.
Okay. Did you have a question for Ian?
Yes, Ian. I'm a big fan. I'm in your Discord.
Yeah, I've seen your profile before. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a super fun time. Everybody should join. I know that you usually qualify your God debates as with the definition of God being mind that created everything, and
Yeah.
also don't really like you don't really like debating people who hold the nondescript theism views. at all?
I'm fine with that. I just need that to be like a mind that created the universe.
Sure. Okay. Because I kind of uphold a similar view to that, but it kind of incorporates a non-classical logic perspective. And I know that you've said previously, if people aren't upfront about that, then it can be super, super annoying and borderline bad faith. So if you're interested in debating that in the future, I'd love to talk about that.
Yeah, wait, what is as long as you believe in like a mind that created the universe, like that's separate from the universe, of course, not one that's like within it, but like one that is like external to it, one that created the universe. Yeah.
Could it be in like both? Could it like be expressed as the definition of mind? Could it be expressed through the universe as a process of evolving and becoming?
I don't know what that means.
It's an alternate definition of mind as kind of it requires temporality and evolution in order to like divulge the various processes. Just
So
like
you'd be saying that the mind or that the universe came about via a process, basically?
and the universe is an expression of that process. Yes.
Gosh. I don't really know what that means. That's I guess I'd probably take issue with saying that any process is a mind because computers run processes, but I don't think computers are minds.
Well, I would take issue with that, but we could talk about that further. I just wanted to hear your openness on that because like your the nondescript theism thing has been off-putting for me, but I appreciate you mentioned that you are open to it.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I don't know. I like debating like I'd debate like a deist. In fact, I think, if I had to be a theist, okay, well, maybe I would certainly never be like any of the big three because all of those are crazy, but maybe I would be I actually kind of like the nondescript theism position that I ran on April Fools. I actually think that position is probably pretty defensible.
Yes, you
Although
defended
I
it quite
think
well.
ultimately I think it's false, but I think it's like probably like I don't think it's like trivial to beat a position like that. I don't know, like if you for the problem of evil you just like cling really heavily to skeptical theism, and then for like logical problems of evil you run like some reincarnation punishment theodicy, like the one that I was running on that day.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's like I don't think it's like true or evidence based, but it's like logically possible, which is all it really takes to defeat a logical problem of evil.
Oh, absolutely.
Gosh, maybe like it really could.
I just think
I don't know.
That and some of the paradoxes of the omni properties I think could be resolved if the conception of God were also viewed through an omnimodal lens, whereby different possibilities could be assumed by the God concept, and in so assuming it could like resolve those paradoxes of the changelessness. I know you kind of say that the common conception of God does not change. It cannot change his will. And here's an example of God changing his will or acting within time. And so this kind of disproves it. But if it could it's somewhat of a multiversal view, I guess. It's like jumping from a universe where this thing is occurring to a different timeline. But maybe that's just kind of absurd generally.
Maybe, gosh, I think if I had to take a position if I were a theist and I had to take a position, Professor Ryan Mullins has the view that God is time, and I think that's interesting. I think it's like perhaps like worth engaging with. Maybe that's what I would hold to if I really had to take a stance on it. Is just that time is like a part of God's nature. I don't really know what the justifications are, but that at least seems to get around problems related to God creating time. Because then it just like emanates from him, so maybe that's chill. But I don't know. I haven't read up on it, and I've certainly never heard anyone run arguments like that. Unfortunately, none of the people I debate have like ever read a book in their life. So
Yes, I agree. Thank you so much for your time. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming up, Hercules. We appreciate it.
Of course, thank you.
Ian, I have to ask you, are you okay on time if we ran a little bit over?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so we might run about a half hour over if that's okay.
Yeah, that's
okay?
totally fine. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Benny boy, can I get your age for TikTok purposes?
I am ageless.
Yeah.
I know you are.
Timeless. I
You're
am
ageless
all-
and
I am
timeless.
omnipresent. I am here,
You-
there, everywhere.
You are the puppet master, baby.
I was just talking about that. I was talking about how I was like, when did she find out? No, Ian. It's so great to finally like talk to you, Ian. I've heard a lot about you. I know, I've seen you. I love what you do. I just everything that you do is like gives me goosebumps. I love it. What I wanted to ask you was, it's in reference to a discussion that was had in the Decon Discord, because Crystal and another person were kind of discussing whether or not you believed in objective morality. And
We
there wasn't
did discuss this.
Yeah, and there wasn't quite a, like, I was like, I swear I've heard him, like, mention it before, or them mention it before, but I was wondering if you could, like, run me down your like argument for objective morality.
Sure. Well, I have a couple. So, kind of what it is. To clarify, what I think morality is it's constructed. I'm a constructivist about morality, and what that means is that the grounding for morality is logic. It doesn't, like, I don't believe in like these like spooky moral facts that are just floating in the universe that we like tap into with like our intuitions or something. I don't believe in like a moral theory like that. What I believe is that morals are necessitated by logic itself, that there's logical ways of behaving that are categorical, like oughts that apply to everybody in every circumstance. I think that these things could exist. So one that I'm currently working on, I'm trying to get it up, although I think it has like crazy potential. It's an argument from Alan Gaworth. Basically, the argument goes something like this. So we're all agents. We're free rational agents, which means that we set purposes and then we go and pursue those purposes by taking free actions. And free doesn't necessarily mean in like a free will sense, but just that we select specific actions. They're like voluntary. So by virtue of having a purpose that we take actions to pursue, we're committed to thinking that our freedom and well-being are valuable. We have a reason to preserve our freedom and well-being, because if we have a purpose, then we have a reason to achieve a purpose. But the only way to achieve any purpose is with your freedom and well-being. You need the freedom and well-being to pursue any purpose, which means that you are committed to preserving your basic freedom and well-being. You have a reason to do so. Just in virtue of you being an agent, you are committed to the proposition, I will preserve my freedom and well-being if you choose to pursue anything at all. Now, when you take a step back, you'll realize that we've reasoned from step 1, I'm an agent, to step like 6 or whatever, which is like I ought to protect my freedom and well-being. And one of the implications of this, one of the implications of like the last premise that I mentioned, is that I'm at least going to hold that others have a reason to not mess with my freedom and well-being. Even if they don't recognize this reason, I'm going to hold that they do have a reason, which is just that like I value it, I need it. It's not necessarily a moral reason, but it's like at least like a prudential reason, at least like an it's good for me type reason. Like I'm making a claim against everyone else, like don't touch my freedom and well-being. And I make this claim in virtue of being an agent, but then there's like one final step, which is I reason from the fact that I am an agent to basically saying that everybody else has a reason to not mess with my freedom and well-being, but that implies that every agent is going to have the exact same property where everybody else has a reason to not mess with their freedom and well-being. So we end up in this position where every rational agent now they're necessitated to holding this like position where everybody has a reason to respect everybody else's freedom and well-being. That was a bit of a yap. It was a bit of a ramble, but that's kind of the argument that I'm working on currently.
Just a clarify, like a kind of like trying to steel man you a little bit here. So this is like axiomatically agreed that morals are a construct, though, right?
So when we call it like constructivism, we're not saying that like it depends what you mean like by a construct.
So like morals aren't outside of a mind. They're mind dependent, is what I would say.
In a sense, yes, but that's kind of I think it's a misleading way of characterizing it like that. Because what they actually are is like necessitated by logic. So if you disagreed that like Jerry deserves his freedom and well-being under this moral system, you would be objectively wrong. There would be like a contradiction in your belief system if you think that other people don't deserve freedom and well-being, assuming that the argument is true.
Right. So I guess like the presupposition is what I'm trying to like figure out then is there's got to be some sort of agreed upon like what morals are, whereas like you said you don't believe that morals are like written on an asteroid somewhere, being kept in storage by God.
Yeah. So
these are kind of emergent, I guess, of I would say some sort of sentience.
I think that's it's probably like the wrong way to understand this. I'm not saying that like morals are like what everybody agrees on. The thing that morals necessarily are is
just like the
going
odds.
to be like the categorical oughts, the things that everybody is rationally committed to, that they would be wrong to deny. These are the things that are going to be equivalent to morals. And what the argument that I'm defending basically puts forward is that morals are that everybody has a right to freedom and well-being. And to deny this would be to contradict yourself. That by virtue of you being like a free rational agent, you are logically committed to the proposition that everybody has a right to freedom and well-being is basically the argument. So it's not a matter of like what somebody thinks, because if somebody disagreed with this, then they simply wouldn't be rational. There would be a contradiction in the worldview.
Yeah.
So here's why wait, I want to say something, Betty, about it real quick. Okay, because what happened was in the Discord, somebody said, I want to see Ian debate Justin on objective morality. And I said, why would they debate each other? I don't think either of them believe in objective morality. And then that's when Benny said, I think Ian does believe in objective morality. But in a sense, this is not the same objective morality that, say, Christians are talking about when they talk about how all morals are grounded in God and therefore their morals are objective.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and of course, like that's false, right? Because God is a mind.
Right.
So that's obviously subjective. But so it's different. But I think that my position probably is closer to objectivism than to subjectivism. It's called constructivism, and it didn't exist before free rational agents existed. But it is like the type of thing that's where it would be false to disagree with it. Like if you disagree with it, your worldview is false. In the same way that if you disagree that like 2 + 2 = 4, well, then you've just asserted a false thing.
I gotcha. Okay. See, like when you clarified that if free rational agents didn't exist, then this didn't exist either. So it was in tandem with a free rational agent. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Wait. Maybe I could. Gosh, not to go too far afield, but I actually have like a syllogism.
We don't have to go. We can always discuss this like another time.
Because I feel like I totally just rambled. So maybe I can just give you like the syllogism for it.
Okay.
Yes,
would that be
absolutely.
okay? Okay.
I'd love it.
So premise one is I am a free rational agent. So if I'm a free rational agent, I do specific behaviors to achieve specific purposes. If I do specific behaviors to achieve specific purposes, then I wish to achieve those purposes by my agency. The premise three is in order to achieve any purpose by my agency, I need my freedom and well-being in order to achieve it with my agency. This entails that I need my freedom and my well-being to achieve any purpose. The fifth premise is that I need my freedom and well-being to achieve any purpose implies that I need other free rational agents to not interfere with my freedom and well-being. That implies that from my perspective, these other free rational agents have an obligation to not interfere with my freedom and well-being. And the implication of that is that, at least to me, I have a right to freedom and well-being. I have strong rights to freedom and well-being, at least from my perspective. But by reasoning through this, I reason from I am an agent to I have a right to freedom and well-being, but everybody else is an agent. So in order to remain consistent, I also need to hold that they have freedom and well-being. So everybody is rationally committed to the claim to the claim that all rational free agents have freedom and well-being. They just have a right to freedom and well-being. If anybody disagreed with that, then they would just be like objectively wrong. If anybody violated somebody's freedom and well-being without like some like conflict of rights style overriding reason, then that would be objectively wrong. So in that sense, I don't know. It kind of lies between the positions. It's kind of like a secret third thing. It's called constructivism.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It sounds a little bit like relativism, but just with a little bit more into it. Just with the consideration of yourself as an agent and then others as agents themselves. But I could talk meta-ethics forever. I'll just I just wanted to make the clear, because a lot of people, when they hear, oh, this person believes in objective morality or subjective morality, or that's more of like moral realism and anti-realism is what they're I think first thinking of, where they're saying morals are existence as a thing outside of a mind or a stance. And that's where I was getting a little confused, because I was like, well, but I also will tell people axiomatically you can bring objectivity. So if we all agree that blue is the best color, then green is not the best color, and that makes it objective, right?
So to clarify, the system of morals would fall under being stance independent.
Really?
Yeah,
okay,
because any purpose at all would entail that you're committed to everybody having freedom and well-being.
But this is in the axiom of free agents existing.
Yeah. But it's not. So these morals are not grounded in any of their stances. The fact that agents exist entails that they have purposes that they pursue, because that's just what it means to be an agent. And based on that fact alone, everybody is committed to their own freedom and well-being, but by extension, in order to remain consistent, logically it's necessitated that they're also committed to everybody else's freedom and well-being. To be committed to anything otherwise would be to deny that you have the right to that, and to deny that you have the right to that would be to contradict that you yourself are a free rational agent. So it's not dependent on anyone's stances.
Right.
It's necessitated just by dialectic and logic.
I don't disagree with that at all. I guess what I'm trying to clarify, here's a different way to rephrase it. Do you believe that objective morals existed, say, pre, mammals, when dinosaurs ruled the earth?
Probably not when dinosaurs ruled, but maybe when Homo erectus was here.
Perfect. You answered my question with that. That's what I wanted to know. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate you. You're the best. All right.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate it.
Benny, thank you for being here. I love you. Hope you had a great vacation. And tell Seth I love him too. Hey, Tom, can I get your age for TikTok purposes?
Hello, I'm 38.
All right. Did you have a question for Ian?
Yeah, I kind of did. I've listened to a lot of your lives, and I've heard you deliver this argument multiple times, and I just wanted to see if you could simplify it for me. I'm pretty sure I'm the one that's just not following, so I'm not trying to be rude.
Which one?
It's, how does it go? Was God always creating the universe, or did he change? And I'm failing to understand here, like, for example, and it's a very lame example, I understand that, but if I'm sitting on the couch not baking a cake, I can very easily get up and bake a cake, and there's no conflict there. So can you just simplify that for me so I can understand?
Yeah. So if you're a being in time, you can totally not be baking a cake and then go and bake a cake. If you're a being outside of time, you need to be either always baking that cake or never baking that cake.
But why? Why do I always have to be baking?
Because if you go from not baking the cake to baking the cake, then that's a change. You changed from not baking the cake to baking the cake. And being outside of time means that you don't have future or past states. That's what time is, right? So the entailment of that is that there wouldn't be like a future way that you are or a past way that you are. There would only just be like the properties that you have eternally. So either you eternally have the property of baking that cake, or you don't eternally have the property of baking that cake.
Yeah, okay. I like it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yep, absolutely. That was a great question.
Thank
Thanks for coming
you.
up.
Yeah, that was a really good question, and I loved the way you simplified it. It was really good. Hi, Alex. Can I get your age for TikTok purposes?
Hello, I'm 27.
Okay, hang on one second. Ian, I have to tell you something funny because like a year ago, okay, just over a year ago is when I started listening to all y'all, okay? It started with like Joyful, Justin, and Skits, okay? And then it became you and Dr. Blitz and everybody. I'm a high school graduate. That's what I am. I'm a high school graduate who raised 3 kids in the early 2000s, and I have learned so much in this 1 year. You have no
awesome.
idea. Like,
I'm so glad to hear that.
I never had the vocabulary I do now, like epistemology and hermeneutics or whatever.
Awesome. That makes me glad.
But it is so fun learning from all of you. Like every freaking day, it's something new. And anyway, I just wanted to tell you, you've taught.
That's so kind.
You've
Thank
taught
you.
so many people, and you probably don't really know how many people you're out there teaching, but we love it, and it's a fun way to learn. I'm sorry, Alex. Go ahead now. I had a glaze for a minute there.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm just wondering, Ian, so I'm someone that is debating pantheism. I don't really understand it, but I've been seeing about apparently pantheism is kind of connected to God because, pantheism is like everything's God, right? Like the universe and everything. Do you believe that, or do you think that that's rationally and logically connected with God, like from a Christian point of view? Like, I'm not Christian, by the way. Like, I'm just trying to understand. Like, what's your take on that?
On pantheism, or?
Yeah.
So, I don't really know what's being claimed there. If the claim there is that there's like some mind that's dictating all of reality at the fundamental level, that just doesn't seem to be very true. Because what seems to be going on at the fundamental level is that there's like dispositional properties, that like atoms have a specific property. If there was a mind at the foundation of reality, we would expect atoms to like, maybe occasionally at least like act a little bit different, or like whatever the mind is interfacing with, like you would expect like something. But it seems like very consistent, very uniform, as if it's not the work of a mind, but rather the work of like specific laws that are embodied by like the properties that the things at the foundation of reality have. That's probably, I think that the data related to how reality behaves is just kind of surprising if pantheism is true, but it makes sense if naturalism is true.
Okay. And so with pantheism, do you feel like that's something it could be real, or do you think it's not? Like, how do you look at that?
Gosh, could be real. I have really no idea. I've never looked into it too much. I'm certainly inclined to not believe it just based on like Occam's razor. Unless there's like something that pantheism explains that I otherwise couldn't explain, then it seems like kind of like a burdensome thing to put into my worldview.
Okay. All right. I mean, yeah, I was just curious on your opinion. But yeah, thank you for answering.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming up, Alex. Appreciate you. You
Thank
guys
you.
keep tapping the screen and sharing out the live. As soon as I went to type, Ms. Bratt, how are you? Can I get your age for TikTok purposes? Ms. Bratt, are you with us? Let me send you an invite to unmute.
Sorry.
There you
Hello,
go.
how are you?
I'm good. Can I get your age?
I'm 43.
All right. Did you have a question for Ian?
I do. I apologize. I don't know what I'm allowed to ask and what I'm not. But I am deconstructing. I've been at this for about a year, and I was indoctrinated into Christianity from birth. My question is, the things that I've learned about this God, I don't know if I believe in the God, and if I were to want to believe in this God, I feel ashamed to do so because of all the things that I've learned. But my question is, I've been able to get to a solid belief and solid thoughts regarding what I feel about certain things in the Bible, except for this free will thing. So my question would be, is there any scriptures that are spoken about in the Bible that says that our will was written from the time that we were created?
I think I've heard verses to that effect before. I don't really like running those types of verses. Those aren't like my go-to verses. Because I think that one type of thing that I like to stay away from in a debate is things that it's really easy for the opponent to like disagree with just based on interpretation. You know, I think like the slavery verse is a verse where there's just no way out of it. It's like a hydraulic press. There's no answer to it. There's no explanation for it. Same thing with like most of the genocides. But any verse that claims that we don't have free will, almost certainly there's going to be like some sort of maneuver that they can do to say like, well, actually the correct interpretation is this. And then you can't really argue with them about that. So for that reason, I've stayed away from verses of that sort. And for that reason, I wouldn't know of any verses off the top of my head.
Okay. The reason why I'm asking is because when I hear the conversations come up about free will, my mind says, well, if he dictates or is all-knowing and is going to know the decision we make from the time that we're created or throughout our lives, rather, then obviously we would not have free will. And then, like you said, instances in the Bible where individuals did not have free will. So, and what would dictate who has free will in what moments and who would not. But what my mind goes to is, if this God is real, would it not be, I guess, I don't even know why I'm stuck on this and I'm so confused, but it's like, if God knew from the time we were created, because I hear the apple juice, orange juice thing. You know, if God knew that you were going to have apple juice, could you make him wrong and have orange juice?
Yeah.
But what if he just knew from the beginning? I guess I don't even know why I keep getting hung up on this. And I appreciate you talking to me because you're so inspiring. I go with what Crystal said. You're very educated. I'm just I got a GED. I raise children, I have grandchildren, and I'm being educated through this process. So a lot of times when I'm listening to Ian, I have to have another device so that I can go and search words because I don't know the meaning of them. So
That's so kind.
I appreciate you
Sure.
talking to me in a way that I can understand.
Yeah. So, one thing that I'd say, so I think that I don't really like the argument about like, can you make God wrong? Can you choose otherwise and make God wrong? But I think that there's a better version of it that arrives at the exact same conclusion. So the reason I don't like that argument first, so one word that appears in philosophy is grounding. We say that one thing is grounded in another thing if, like, absent the first thing, the second thing, the thing that's grounded in it wouldn't exist. And what's more is that that thing is like partially responsible for the existence of the other thing. I'll give you an example. So my table is grounded in the atoms that make up the table. If the atoms didn't exist, then neither would the table. The atoms are the composition of the table. So what this connects to in God is that what the intelligent theist wants to say is that God's knowledge is grounded in your actions. God doesn't determine your actions. There's no causal relationship between God's knowledge and your actions, but God's knowledge is the way it is because of the actions that you take. So basically what they want to say is that if you chose to drink the apple or to drink the apple juice, then God just would have known otherwise. So I think that that's probably the defeater to that. But the better argument that I think actually does go through is that God's all knowing, but he also created the universe. So prior to creating the universe, you could have created one out of any universe. You could have created this universe. You could have created a universe where we're all goats. He could have created like the Atlantis, like fish universe. You know, he could have created like life on Neptune. He could have done a million different things, so many different universes. But instead, they think that he picked, or that they think that the theists, or sorry, they think that God picked this universe. So because God's all knowing, they don't just know which universe, or he doesn't just know like the starting conditions. He knows the entire timeline. So if God knows that if he chooses to create the universe that we're currently living in, that there would be the exact timeline that played out because he's all knowing. So his act of selecting a universe is actually the act of selecting a timeline as well. It's made the act of selecting a timeline by the fact that he's all knowing, which means that he chose for all of the events of this timeline to happen. You know, he could have chosen like the universe where we're all goats, and then it would have been a different timeline, and he would have known that it would have been a different timeline. He would have selected the goat timeline if he picked that universe. But by selecting this universe, he selects the corresponding timeline. You know, maybe we choose to have this conversation, the one that we're having right now, but God chose the timeline where we would have this conversation, knowing that we would have this conversation. His act makes us having this conversation inevitable. There's actually no way that it couldn't have happened if God creates these exact starting conditions. I think that argument does go through. I think that that's like a big problem for free will. If God selected the timeline, well, God certainly could have selected the timeline where, for example, like the Schmolocaust didn't happen. He could have selected like the starting conditions that would just lead to better outcomes. But you know, he didn't, and that's a problem. I hope that was a bit of a ramble, but I hope that answers it.
Yeah, it's a bit confusing to me because I look back on my life and I think if he is all knowing and does write our wills out of his desires from the time we were created, then he is responsible for everything that we endure, the pain, the heartache, the children that grow up with no fathers, the FD. So that's that in a nutshell is hurtful. And I don't know why my mind keeps getting stuck on this free will thing. And then I ask myself, if God's all knowing and he's already written our lives from start to finish, why do we pray for people?
Yeah, I don't think there's any way of salvaging prayers. Prayers for sure don't do anything. There's actually like a lot of reasons to think that prayers, so there's obviously the scientific evidence that prayers just don't do anything. There's never been like a double-blind control trial that finds that prayers are medically effective. But I like, if you wanted to take a philosophical route, if God is timeless, if he already has his plan down, he can't change his mind.
Well, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah, no,
interrupt.
go for it.
And what I ask myself is, Christians, I hear them come up and tell, people that are deconstructing, atheists, trans people, get saved, run to Jesus. Well, at the end of the day, you also say that God's all knowing. If God is all knowing and he written like our lives from start to finish, then God already knew that we were going to be where we are. So that was his will. That was his plan. And I honestly, I do still pray, but I pray to the universe, because I really stopped praying to the God when I lost my mother to cancer.
Yeah.
Because I
Jeez.
grew up, anything you ask in Jesus' name, I prayed and prayed and prayed on my hands and knees for my mother to be healed from cancer. And here I am 5 years later without my mother. And
I'm so
same
sorry.
goes for, being addicted to a substance since I was 13 years old, that the world, it's good for some people, it's not for the other. But I prayed and prayed and prayed for the desire to be taken away. I actually went 3 years without using the substance, but I thought about it and craved it every single day. The moment, almost a year ago, August will be a year, that I started giving myself the credit and telling myself that I was proud of myself, I've almost made it a year. I don't think about it. I don't desire it. And
Good
smoking,
job.
thank you. And smoking has always been a part of my life. It's just something I've always struggled with. So like I said, I'm deconstructing. I don't know what I believe. And a part of me wants to investigate in other religions and, other gods and stuff. But it's like, I just need to stay where I'm at for the moment, because I'm kind of thankful that I was only indoctrinated into Christianity, because
Yeah.
this is a lot. This is overwhelming. And I think I'm more so deconstructing from my birth father than I am to God, because he's responsible for a lot of what I know and what I've always believed in my life. So I really appreciate it. And thank you for letting
Can
me
I
ask
give
this.
you some verses that you asked about earlier? Would you be
Yes,
okay with that?
ma'am. Yes, you sure
Okay,
can.
Romans 8:29 and 30.
Let me get something
I'm
right
just
here.
gonna,
My
I'll read
pen.
them real quick.
Okay.
Okay. For those whom he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his son, in order that he might be the firstborn within a large family. And those whom he predestined, he also called. And those whom he called, he also justified. And those whom he justified, he glorified. So that verse definitely tells you that this God says he predestines people. One thing I like to point out is that if God predestined Jesus to be the sacrificial lamb before the foundation of the earth, before anything was created, then everything was predestined. Why would we need a sacrificial lamb already if we haven't even eaten the apple yet, or the fruit? Okay. And it says in 1 Peter, but with the precious, 1 Peter 1:19 and 20, but with the precious blood of Christ, like that of a lamb without defect or blemish, he was destined before the foundation of the world, but was revealed at the end of the ages for your sake. So even Jesus was predestined to be our sacrifice, which means he knew there would be sin. He knew we would fall. And like Ian said earlier, he still decided to create this universe. knowing all of that ahead of time. We
This
don't
is
have free will according to the Bible. And if you want to DM me after the show, I have a list of Bible verses that talk about predestination, how some of us are made for destruction.
Yes, thank you so much, because the pen I had was not working, so I didn't get to
Yeah,
that
no
yet.
problem. No problem.
I do appreciate it, because this is it's hurtful. It's and it's harmful.
Yes.
And I'll be honest, the most crippling thing that I've gotten out of this whole doctrinating into Christianity is the fact that I was always taught not to rely on my own understanding. I literally have not had the ability my entire life to think for myself. So what I'm doing today is I'm taking all my beliefs that I do hold, and I'm asking myself, where did they come from? Is this something that I want to keep, or is this something that I want to let go of? I really
That's
do
good.
appreciate y'all, and I'm definitely going to DM you. That way I can
Okay.
get some more scriptures and some more information.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Ian.
Yeah, absolutely.
Y'all have a great night.
You too.
Thank you for being here.
Take care.
You too. Hey, if you are friendly and you want to come up and join in for Divine or Decline, go ahead and slip in the box. We're going to finish up with these two guests right here and let them ask their questions, and then we're going to play Divine or Decline. Thank you so much for all the hats. Hi, Dr. Joe. How are you?
I'm terrific, Crystal. How are you?
It's always a pleasure to see you. I'm doing great.
Same. You're not going to card me for my age, are you?
No, I'm not.
So I wasn't planning on doing this, but if Miss Bratt is still around, I do want to jump in and say I gave you a follow. I myself am 34 years sober, and I have a whole bunch of education behind that as well. And there are secular, self-driven peer support that I'd love to share with you if we want to DM. And so that. But I really just came up to make a comment about Ian. Ian, your superpower is making philosophy bearable.
It takes a lot of work. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm rambling, especially, gosh. I think that there's like a progression over time. I'll find arguments that I like, but I'll need to actually put in the work to make them understandable. Because I recognize the way that a lot of these philosophical arguments, especially the way that they're presented, I recognize the way that they sound, where it's like very jargon heavy. And I don't want that. I think that at the core, what I am is a debater, and what that means is that I need to adapt the philosophy to a context where it can actually do well in a debate. And the only way to do that is by making it understandable.
And you do a fantastic job of that. I don't have patience for philosophy in most cases, but I will stop on your lives or a live that you're on, knowing that philosophy is going to be part of it, because you do make it tolerable. And I just want to thank you for that, because I've learned some things about the logical process. And I do, Socratic questioning and all of that in my work, of course. But and grounding is also a term in my work, but it's used a little differently.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That's so kind to hear. I'm really glad to hear that.
Yeah. Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you, Dr. Joe. Did you want to stay up and play with us?
No, I just got to my other home, and I need to get this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe Sam and Mary and Schley and all you guys can get up here. All right, Dr. Joe, thanks for being here. We appreciate you. Hey, Mint, can I get your age for TikTok purposes?
Yes, I'm over 18. Is that good enough or no?
Yeah, that's good enough.
Thank you. I enjoyed what I heard so far. I didn't hear a lot. I don't know what kind of panel is this? Is this a panel of agnostic atheists, or is this a panel of
It's not a panel.
Psychologist. What is it?
It's a question and answer for Ian, allegedly Ian.
Oh, and so what is
Did you have a
Ian?
question for Ian?
I'm
Well,
a
if you don't know, I'm
person,
going to go
among
ahead
other
and drop you
things.
down, and we're going to move on to the next person because we've got a game to play. Ems, you better get up here and play. I'm not kidding you. And Justin, I think I saw you out there. You should be up here too.
Yeah. Get in here, Justin. Stop running.
Diecast, can I get your age for TikTok purposes? Let me send you an invite to unmute. Cyber, you better come up and play too. Diecast, can I get your
hello.
age?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm 35. And,
Okay. Did you have a question
yeah,
for Ian?
no, I'm an agnostic atheist also, and I just want to share my experience about prayer. So since I heard people commenting about it, and is it okay if I'll just share it?
Actually, we're kind of running behind, and this is a question and answer for Ian. I appreciate you being here, and we really appreciate all the support, but we're going to move along. Cyber, before we start playing the game, did you have any questions for Ian?
Yeah. I guess my first question, well, my only question is, what is driving the debates for religion, the religious debates?
Gosh, probably just like a love of learning, to be honest. I think that there's like very few things, because philosophy is like a very niche topic. A lot of issues in philosophy are really boring. Or they're fascinating to me, but to most people they're boring. There's no way that I could come on live and do a debate about like I don't know, like the meta physics, and whether or not like tables exist, or whether or not they're like made causally redundant by all of the atoms that compose them. Like I don't think anyone would care about a debate like that. But what people do care about is God, and you can work all of these things. Like all of these things come up, like they're all relevant in the God debate. I don't know, the God debate stretches truly across every single aspect of philosophy, and I love philosophy. So it's just a good venue to talk about my niche special interest.
No, I agree. And same reason for me. My last question is, as you've done these debates and you've ran into like Calvinists or people who are deep into divine command theory, has that affected your faith in him?
You know, I actually take Calvinism to be like a reductio, like in and of itself, kind of. Like I think Calvinism on face is an absurdity. I think the idea, like picture, if you will, an all good God who planned for you to get tortured forever. He could have just not made you, but instead he made you, and he's planning on torturing you forever. Well, I just think that that's a contradiction of terms to say the all good God that made you planning to torture you forever. I don't think I think that that's like a squared circle. So I don't know. I just take Calvinism to be like a reductio.
I agree, and that's all I got for questions. And Ian, I wanted to thank you for your friendship as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Cyber.
Sam, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing splendid. It's Juneteenth, and people gave me
It
money
is
for being called the
Juneteenth.
N-word today.
Yeah.
I love to see it.
That's
I got
reparations.
$100 for being called the hard R. That's fantastic.
Jeez.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Did I
Well,
enjoy
happy
the service?
Juneteenth.
No. Thank you very much, Crystal. I appreciate
And
that.
y'all give Sam up right now. Also, happy Pride to everybody.
Happy Pride!
Happy Pride! Listen, we're about ready to play everybody's favorite game, Divine or Decline, the game that I made up. And so here's how the rules are for those of you who do not know or don't remember. I'm going to read a phrase. if that phrase is from the Bible, specifically the New American Standard Bible, because it's copyright free, then it is divine. Divine, I say. If it is from the Book of Mormon or the Quran, or I made it up, then it's decline. If you guys are subscribers or were gifted a subscription today, you have special stickers. You can drop them in the chat right now. The D with the halo is for divine. The D with the horns facing backwards is decline. And is everybody ready to play? Hey, Mac, how are you? Did you have a question for Ian before we get started, Mac?
Oh, it's rock and roll. I don't want to hold him up any more than he has. So that needs that.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Sam.
Well, I have a question and a statement. The statement is, if you don't wish me a happy Juneteenth, you're racist, and I'm going to block you.
Happy Juneteenth, Sam.
Thank you, beloved.
Happy Juneteenth.
Thank you. The question is, are you bringing back the mustache? It was pretty sexy, I'm not going to lie. And Ems is asking too. Are you
Me?
bringing it back? Yeah, you
No. The mustache. I actually shaved the mustache off because I was running a live, and then someone was like, "That mustache looks horrible," and I was like, "Let's do a poll." And then I did a poll, and I was like,
No.
"Should I keep the mustache or should I shave it?"
No.
And then it came back shaved.
They were
and then I was like, "Whoa,
You
whoa,
should have
whoa!
it.
Should I shave it or should I trim it?" And then it came back shave again. So I was like, "Fair enough."
I agree with Sam, though. I think it needs to come back.
I do too.
We lost the poll twice.
You know,
I know.
They
How
always-
I wasn't in that poll.
Either, but I
they
guess
always-
the people we represent got stomped out in the poll.
I don't know. I kind of see where they're coming from. When I look at it again, I don't think it looks very good.
Well, if we're talking like the cowboy mustache, I think that it didn't look bad, but it didn't really like suit your face. What I'm talking about is when you have like stubble borderline mustache. I fuck with it.
Oh, I'm not gonna do the stubble borderline mustache.
Why not?
I don't have the white van to pull the look off.
Anyway.
you don't have to go pencil.
One of my mods, make a poll right now. One of my mods. Let's see what it
Please.
says.
We need to win this. Please.
No, I don't know, because of my I don't have enough like facial region. My upper lip is very small. So there isn't very many ways that I can grow facial hair. It's basically the way that it grew or nothing.
You know, visionaries
I
are
think it
rarely
is.
understood in their own time.
This is
True.
true.
This is
True,
very
Mac.
Absolutely. But okay, I'm gonna stop bullying Ian now. Let's get into it.
Before we get started in this,
Never mind.
as somebody who has thoroughly studied the Book of Mormon, who is married to a Mormon for 8 years, if it sounds like it comes from the King James Version of the Bible, it's probably the Book of Mormon. Just throwing you all about.
Oh no.
Stop giving.
What translation are
Stop.
you? What translation are
Like,
you
let me
doing?
fuck them over. Stop giving us tips.
The Book of Mormon is the 1830 version, the original.
Well, what Bible are you doing?
Oh, New American Standard.
Okay.
Okay, you guys ready? Here we go. And I'm just going to go from the top to the bottom, okay? So here we go. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Mac.
I'm gonna say. What is it? Bible or what? I forgot what the
What?
no was. I forgot what the reject was.
Oh, decline.
Decline. Divine or decline. Ugh. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I declined that one.
Sam?
Decline.
All right. Cyber.
I want to say divine.
All right. Ian?
I feel like this is the Quran. I'm gonna decline.
This is divine cyber. You got it right. That is Psalms 34:18. Okay.
It's a good thing Justin isn't on this panel. I would just steal all of his answers.
That's valid.
I don't know. There was one a few weeks ago that Justin didn't do too hot on.
Yeah. I can be tricky, and I do have a poker face. So even Justin has a little trouble on these. Okay. And it came to pass that they did cast their eyes round about as if to behold from whence the voice came. Mac.
I'm going to defer to Cyber and say that this is Book of Mormon.
Decline.
Sam.
Heavy decline.
All right, so Cyber.
So if it's from the Book of Mormon, is that a decline?
Yes.
Or is that
That's a
okay.
decline. Yeah, that's
Okay,
not
decline.
holy.
Decline is Book of Mormon.
Not. Okay, Ian.
I'll also decline.
Y'all are cheaters, and yes, that was the Book of Mormon.
Let's go.
Okay, number 3. God has set a seal upon their hearts and upon their hearing, and over their vision is a veil. Mac.
Sounds very similar to stuff I heard. I think similar enough that it could be a translation thing. I'm going to say divine.
All right, Sam.
Decline. That gives me Quran vibes.
Yeah, I was on the fence about that.
All right. Cyber.
Decline, and I'm agreeing with Sam.
Oh, gosh. I wish I could just answer on my own. I have to listen to... Oh, gosh. I can't. I'm torn. My instinct is telling me divine, but I also think that it could be from the Quran. So I'll go divine, though. Divine.
You're going to go divine? It is declined. It is the Quran. It is Quran 2:7. But I changed the word Allah to God.
Mm-hmm. She does that, by the way. She'll do it where she'll change if it says God to something else, or she'll take out a word or add a word and then look you dead in your eyes as you contemplate.
Staring straight into your soul. Not just looking into your eyes, just dead ass into your soul.
Genuinely.
Okay, let's see. Let's just, okay, here we go. Let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. Mac.
I'm going to decline that.
All right, Sam.
Divine.
Cyber.
Divine.
Damn it, you guys.
Ian.
Quit making me go first.
Yeah, I'll divine.
That is divine, and I'll go up this time for you, Mac. Okay.
That was from Amos.
that was Amos 5:24. All right, we're gonna start with Ian this time. We're gonna go up. Okay.
Oh my god! Why would you do? Justin, type faster.
You're gonna taste of what I'm dealing with.
Okay, the stars fell upward and the moon gave no light, yet the people rejoiced as if it were midday. Ian.
I'm pretty sure this is divine.
All right, Cyber.
Can you repeat it again?
Yes. The stars fell upward and the moon gave no light, yet the people rejoiced as if it were midday.
Oh. I think you're changing words. I'm going to go decline. I think you're changing words.
All right. Okay, Sam.
Fuck. This reminds me of a verse in the Bible, but it's probably not. Decline.
Yeah, I think the moon not giving its light is a red herring.
Yeah.
Well, it is decline, and Justin's right. That's from the Crystal International version. That's just made up bullshit.
It sounded like something from Revelations, though. I was like, Revelations gives all sorts of...
You.
Also, Isaiah 13.
I could have
talks about
wrote the
moon not
Bible.
giving
I'm
its light.
pretty sure. I'm pretty sure I could write the Bible. Okay. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or in dread of them, for the Lord your God is the one who is going with you. Ian. Thank you for the subscriptions.
Damn, is this the Quran verse where they... Is this the Quran verse where he, like, totally, like, Bay of Pigs them?
What does that mean?
he's like, I got your back, guys. Like, let's go. And then he just like doesn't have their back.
Oh.
Like the Bay of Pigs. I think. I think it's divine though.
Okay. Cyber.
Yep, I'll say divine as well. And chat, don't put the answers in where it's from until answers have been given. Potentially.
Sam.
Divine.
All right. Mac.
I agree. I think it sounds like Isaiah 45.
Well, it is divine, but that would be Deuteronomy 31:6.
If I would have got that
Deuteronomy 31, let's go.
If I would have got that one wrong, my ancestors would be slapping me with their Ezekiel bread.
Just right upside the head. No mercy.
Oh, somebody else wants to come up and play, I think. Hang on one second. Rip, are you coming up to play?
Rabbi Hana, twice. Yes, 100%.
Wait, I just realized.
Okay,
Ian, are you at the bottom right now for the point system?
Yeah, probably.
What the? Okay.
No, it's definitely me.
This is shocking.
Okay. He did cause that many should be baptized unto repentance, and they were called. I'm sorry. Let me re-talk, okay? Like a normal human being. He did cause that many should be baptized unto repentance, and they were filled with the Spirit. Ian.
Okay, so it's either the Bible or you made it up. But which one is it? Gosh. I totally might be getting tricked, but I'm gonna decline.
Okay, Cyber.
Decline. I think there's some word change
Alright.
but I'll decline.
Sam.
Divine.
All right, Matt.
I'm gonna say divine.
All right, Rip.
Decline.
All right. It was declined. That is Book of Mormon.
Oh yeah. Shit, I was gonna say that, but then it kind of lost its they thou-ness or thy thou. It had like some of that, but not enough.
Am I
Had plausible
It really
deniability.
She heard my hint and was like, "We're gonna throw this off the rails."
Yeah, yeah. I left out a couple at the
It
end
did
of
sound like
words.
Acts. Somebody said it sounds like Acts. It sounded like the Holy Spirit coming and doing that. But.
Okay. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Ian.
I think there's like no self glaze, which makes me think that it can't possibly be Yahweh. So I'm gonna decline.
True.
Cyber.
I believe it is divine.
Sam.
Decline. Ain't no fucking way. That was the most cringe shit I've ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah, I'm in that camp. I think yeah, just decline.
All right. Rip.
Decline as well.
Decline. That is divine. That's Romans 12:21, y'all.
Can you imagine being a grown adult believing that? That's so embarrassing.
Bro, what the?
Yeah, today I'm gonna overcome evil with good.
With
oh
good.
God, I'm getting like
overcoming it
full
from
body.
Okay, here we go. And when the trumpet sounds, none will deny its call except the arrogant who covered their ears. Ian.
I think this is the Quran, so I'll decline.
All right, Cyber.
I'm going to decline as well.
All right, Sam.
Decline because I'm a follower.
Mac?
Yeah, I think the word arrogant says Quran to me. But that
Okay.
might be biased. But
Yeah, the way the Quran talks about non-believers is crazy. You would think that these people are like subhuman.
They are. They
the
are
same
according
thing.
to the Quran. Not that they are. They are
like, by the
according
way,
to
they are.
By the way, they are.
ahead and
I'm
say the
sorry, Rick,
Shahada,
what did you say?
Oh, Decline as well for the same reason. Yeah, I think arrogance just screams Quran.
Well, I wrote it, so I guess I just.
There it is.
Oh, rip.
That's
We're learning
terrible.
about Crystal.
Tell us how you really feel.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, all right. And this one is the last one. It's for all the marbles. Are you guys ready? I am the final prophet as Justin. Okay. A fool does not delight in understanding, but in revealing his own mind. Ian.
Decline.
Cyber.
Can you repeat it one more time?
A fool does not delight in understanding, but in revealing his own mind.
Oh, Decline. I think those words are.
All right. Okay, Sam.
Decline. You took half of a sentence and then replaced the other half. You little weasel.
Mac.
I'm going to say divine. They love talking about what fools do.
Okay, Rip.
I'm going to decline as well.
That is divine, and that
There's
word, I don't know why I lost it. It was, I'm sorry, that was Proverbs 18:2, everybody. Proverbs will get you every time. You guys, thank you so much for being here. And I hope you had fun. I had such a good time getting to know
Thank you so much.
I hope that you'll come back in a few months and join me again. And maybe you
totally
could talk to
would.
Dr. Blitz and ask him if he would join me sometime.
I
would
bet
love
Dr.
that.
Blitz would love this. I bet, I think the one and only thing that Dr. Blitz wouldn't love is if people in the Q&A were asking him about like quantum mechanics with their like lack of understanding of quantum. I think that would actually drive him crazy. But yeah, I could try to rope him into this. Maybe I'll read half an article about string theory, and then I'll come up and ask him. I'll form hypotheses and then get him to explain why I'm wrong for hours.
That would be awesome.
You will cry on the spot.
And I feel like you might need to change the game to physics, law, or nah.
Or not is crazy.
Law or nah is a great
Physics,
game.
law,
or nah. Law or nah. Okay, I might have to do something like that, you know? But Cyber, thank you for being here as always. You know I love you. Sam, I love you so much. You make me so happy every time I see your face.
I love
Mac,
you.
You're whatever, Mac.
Thank you. You are. You're right down there with me.
I love you, Mac. You know it. And Rip, it's been nice meeting you, and it's great having you up here. I really appreciate it. You guys, thank you for the 95,000 likes. Thank you for all of the subscriptions tonight. Thank you for the gifts and the shares. I really appreciate each and every one of you. We are going to go raid Joyful right now because I'm normally live with him every Monday and Thursday night. So let's go raid Joyful and just go in there and tell him he sucks. Just say Crystal said you suck.
Right,
Okay? I love you guys.
I'm going to DM you my address. You can ship me the marbles.
I'm crazy.
Okay, I will, Mac. I'll ship you marbles. All right, I love you guys. See you around the mean streets of TikTok. Good night, everybody.
Bye.